Pause. I've been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You are Miss Eckert?
Yes.
Miss Eckert, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for some rent, some other bills from taking money out of your ATM account, and Mr. Procopio?
That's correct.
It's your claim that Mr. Marcus assaulted you. You want to be compensated. Tell me, how do you know him, Miss Eckert, and when you moved in together, and what was the rent arrangement?
I met him last July, and we just became friends, and he had a 5-year-old son, and I had a 6-year-old son, and he was living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I was living in a 3-bedroom house, and we both couldn't afford the places that we lived in, so we decided we move in together, just as roommates, and he can take care of my son while I go to work, just take him to school in the morning, and then the rent would be $300, and if he doesn't do that, then the rent would be $400.
How much was the total rent?
$850.
And how many people were living in the house?
It was just me and my son at the time.
When did he move in?
In the middle of September.
No, that's not true.
I'll get you in a minute. When was he supposed to start to pay rent? In October?
Yeah.
Did he pay October's rent?
No.
When did he move out?
Middle of May.
That's not true either.
From October until May, did he pay rent?
No.
Never.
No.
So why did you let him stay?
Because he always said he's getting a job. Every month I ask him, are you going to come up with some money? He was supposed to get food stamps too, you know, from the welfare. And every month he came up with a new story. One time he said he's going to sell his motorcycle, and I didn't want him to do that. And then he had a job at one time.
Yeah.
For a day, and then he lost that job.
Not true.
Do you think I'm going to give you a chance, sir?
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
Then I want you to try to contain yourself. So he didn't pay you any money from October until May?
No.
So let's deal with the rent first. Now, Mr. Marcus, look who's having a turn. When did you move in according to your calendar, sir?
It was the middle of October.
Okay.
Actually, almost towards the end of October, when I come back from Mexico.
So according to you, you should have started to pay rent.
1st of November.
Thank you for anticipating. Did you pay rent?
No, not at the first. No, I didn't.
Why not?
Well, because I didn't have the money at that time.
What were you doing in Mexico?
I was helping a friend move his family down there.
Explain that to me.
It was just another friend of mine who needed assistance driving his family to Mexico. He asked me to help him.
You're making me very nervous, sir. Could you speak without moving so much?
Yeah, well, he asked me to help him move his family to Mexico. I did so. I was down there for a month.
So you weren't working at the time?
No, no.
And you were free?
I was taking care of my son. He was under medical conditions, so...
What kind of medical condition?
He was mauled by dogs, so he needed intensive care 24/7.
How old is he?
He is now 6. At the time, he was 5.
So you took your son, who needed full-time medical care, down to Mexico
No,
for
I
a
didn't.
month.
I left him with his grandmother.
The name of the friend who you helped move to Mexico?
Mario.
Mario.
Yeah, Mario. That's all I know.
Mr. Marcus, see anything written here, sir?
No, no, ma'am.
Dumb, stupid.
No, I'm not saying that.
Do you think that I think that you were going down to move somebody whose name you don't even know, and you stayed with them for a month and you don't know their last name?
No, I don't. Actually, I couldn't even pronounce it if I did.
All right, Mr. Marcus. So November, you didn't pay any rent. What about December?
Yes, I did give her some money. I did give her some cash.
Good. How much did you give us, sir?
I believe it was $150.
And in January?
I think it was another $100, $150.
February?
Not believe February, no.
March?
No, that's when we started getting eviction notices, so she didn't pay either. It was pretty much everybody disbanded the house, and off we went.
April?
No, nobody was there in April.
When did you move out?
March.
So according to you, sir, for the entire time you were there, you gave her a total of $250.
Well...
That's what you just told me?
Well, partial, yes.
That's what you just told me?
Yes, I understand that. Partial.
That's what you just told me?
That's cash, yes. I bought all the food for the house.
Food?
Yes, food. Well, she then proceeded to move Sal in.
I'm not there yet. Miss Eckert, okay. I want you to tell me about this ATM card. I read your papers, and I don't think that you can prove it to me, but I'll listen to you anyway, because I'm always trying to be fair.
Well, I got my paycheck and I deposited, and my bank account was way overdrawn. And I was like, there's something wrong. So I got a statement from the bank, a printout, and I noticed that there was some stuff on there that was charged on my debit card that wasn't made by me. And there was a 1-800 number next to it. So I called it, and I got to find out it was a...
She gave me the credit card.
Go.
It was a porn website.
That's not what it was.
Yes.
That's what the guy said on the phone.
That's not what it was.
Oh, okay. What makes you think it was Mr. Marcus who used your debit card?
Because the guy on the phone asked me what my email address is, and I said, I don't have an email address. He asked me if I got a computer in my house,
That's
and
not
I
true
said,
that she did.
I want you to be quiet until I look in your direction.
And he asked me if I know somebody by the name of Michael Marcus, and I said, yes, that's my roommate. And he said, that's the person who got the charge on my debit.
And what was the charge?
You want to take a look at this?
Sure.
And because of that, my bank account got totally overdrawn, so I got all those overdraft charges on there, too.
Just tell me how much it was.
But all combined with the overdraft charges, about
Forget the
$200.
overdraft charges, just what you allege he charged.
About $100.
Now we're ready to go to you, sir. I want you to tell me about this assault.
Hold on.
When did it take place?
12th of April.
Do you have a police report?
No, I did not call the police. I was going to pretty much let the whole issue go until my wife and him
She
were going to go
decided
to
do it,
court.
yeah.
Mr. Marcus, do you think you're helping yourself, sir?
No, ma'am. I just want the truth.
Well, then wait your turn, and I'll hear. How are you related to him?
Can I speak?
No! I asked you a question. I said, how are you related to him?
I'm a witness.
How are you related to him?
We have a child together.
My condolences.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your actions today, being a wise guy and a smart mouth,
But I'm not.
but you are.
But you haven't even heard my side of this whole assault thing.
But you're not paying attention to me.
I am
You're
paying
as
attention.
dumb and as thick as this wood.
Well,
And later today,
He calls me and said he's in jail, the bail out of jail.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I said,
Mr.
That's
Reyes,
not
Mr.
true.
Reyes, could you wait until I look at you and ask you questions, please? Oh, look at me. Could you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Heidi Eckert and her estranged husband, Salvatore Procopio, are suing former housemate Michael Marcus for unpaid rent. Salvatore claims soon after filing the case, Michael beat him up.
Now, 12th of April.
Correct. After the eviction notice came, we were supposed to be out the 1st of the month. Heidi,
First of what?
April, I believe.
First of April.
Yeah.
Why were you being evicted?
Due to unpaid rent.
When was the last time you paid rent?
I never paid any rent.
Yeah.
When was the last time you paid rent?
My last, in February.
In February.
as far as the credit card is concerned,
Not talking about the credit card.
oh, well, it was handed to me. She knew
Yeah,
all about
I'm
it.
not talking about the credit card now.
Well, we need to address it.
I don't. If I need to address it, I'll address it. Now, get back to the date of the assault.
Mr. Marcus came into the kitchen first thing in the morning and was upset about the whole lawsuit. Heidi had already, processed a claim to sue him in small claims. He was adamant that I was the one that put her up to it. And
When did you move into the house, sir?
middle of November. I mean,
November.
probably within the first 30 days of Mr. Marcus moving in.
So you moved in after Mr. Marcus moved
Well, I lived there prior. I moved out.
in. You
back
moved in after Mr.
Yes.
Marcus moved in.
Yes.
After her arrangement with Mr. Marcus.
Correct.
Did you pay rent?
No.
Why not?
I was unemployed at the time.
That's not his problem.
Yeah, I stayed in the room with my estranged wife. I slept on a couch sometimes.
At any time, did either you or Miss Eckert receive public assistance?
No.
Not me.
What about you?
No.
So how are you supporting yourself, Mr. Principio?
Me and everybody else was supporting him.
With the help of friends.
Was I looking at you?
Well,
Was I looking at you?
That's who was supporting him. Everybody else in the house.
You know, right now he's preparing to tell me about the fact that you punched him while sitting in the kitchen.
No, he
A
was,
fact
he was standing.
that you acknowledge. Your defense to that, sir, is that you were afraid that he was going to assault you with a knife he was holding.
Yes.
Your actions today in dealing with me suggest that you're so dumb that you don't recognize that if you maintain a different kind of demeanor, I might believe the fact that you were in fear of your life and therefore responded by assaulting him, by punching him.
Well, if you hear my story, I'll tell you.
However, your actions today, being a wise guy and a smart mouth,
But I'm not.
but you are.
But you haven't even heard my side of this whole assault thing.
But you're not paying attention to me.
I am
You're
paying
as
attention.
dumb and as thick as this wood.
well.
Because if you listen to me, you would understand that if you were quiet and respectful of where you are,
Then I get
and
shut out.
understand where you are, you see how we're addressing each other and you see how quiet they are? Because at this point, I'm looking in your direction. You have no self-control. You can't control yourself.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy, Heidi Eckert, and her estranged husband, Salvatore Procopio, are suing former housemate Michael Marcus for unpaid rent. Salvatore claims soon after filing the case, Michael beat him up.
Tell me about the assault, sir. You were in the kitchen. He came in. He was angry because you filed the small claims case. And he did what to you?
He smacked me upside my face.
How did he do that? With an open hand or a closed hand?
It was closed hand and an open hand. There was
Okay.
two of them, in which I got out of the house
Okay.
and I left.
And
I wasn't, you know, I wasn't.
my mouth is moving.
Excuse me.
When he hit you, did you have any injury?
I had a cut on the inside of my mouth.
Okay, so you had no serious injury.
No, not at all.
And you did not respond in kind by hitting him back
No.
because... Okay. Did you, in fact, have a knife in your hand?
I was doing the dishes. At the time, we
Okay.
weren't sitting in the kitchen. I was standing at
You
the
were
sink.
standing. And Mr. Marcus, at no time did he hit you, is that right?
No, he did not.
Stop! And you walked into the kitchen, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
The fact that Mr. Procopio was not seriously injured, or was not really injured at all, does not mean that you get a free whack. So that slap upside his head and little cut on the inside is going to cost you $500, Mr. Marcus. So far, I am eliminating these charges from here because everything that you told me, Miss Eckert, with regard to the person that you called at your ATM card, is hearsay. However, I am persuaded that Mr. Marcus owes you for rent. So, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's fine. I mean, we always got along. I'm kind of bummed that it came to this.
He owes me money. And if this time I'm not going to let it go.
He doesn't deserve a dime.
I wish everybody well. I wish it didn't all have to come to this.
I have no hard feelings against Heidi. As far as he's concerned, he's a chump.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Caban versus Reyes. Step forward, please.
Hairstylist William Caban is suing his former friend, 25-year-old waiter Jeffrey Reyes, for an unpaid loan to bail him out of jail.
According to your complaint, the defendant owes you for bailing him out of jail.
Yes.
Tell me exactly how that happened, sir.
We went out on Thursday night to karaoke. And
What was the date?
May 16th. And one of my friends met me at the bar. And he wanted to leave. I asked Jeffrey, do you want to go? He says, no, I want to stay.
Your Honor, he left me there.
Just 1 second. I'll get to you. Go ahead. Get to you. Go ahead.
And I said, do you want to come? He said, no, I want to stay here. I want to sing. So I said, okay, I'll do you a favor. I gave him my ATM card. I gave him $20 plus my car keys. And I
Gave
said,
him
I'll
your
talk to you
ATM
later.
card for what?
To drink. He didn't have no money. And then the next day he calls me and said, he's in jail, to bail him out of jail.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I said,
Mr.
That's
Reyes,
not
Mr.
true.
Reyes, could you wait until I look at you and ask you questions, please? Now look at me. Could you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he say to you?
he said, Will, can you please come and get me out of jail? Do you have the money to get me out of jail? And I did not have the money to get him out of jail. I had to go running around town, borrow money to get him out, because he kept on calling me every 15 minutes that my cell phone died, and his cell phone died. There's 3 cell phones in the car, and they all died because he was calling us so much.
What do you mean 3 cell phones in the car?
We had 3 cell phones in the car. There's 3 people trying to get him out of jail. The only one that got him out of jail was me.
Well, who else was in the car?
It's another friend of his roommates. I don't know his name.
So you're driving around with 2 other friends in the car?
No one had money to get him out.
Just answer my question, sir. You're driving around with 2 other friends.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do this my way.
Okay.
Do you understand? Because my way, I'm going to get the truth.
Okay.
Where were you going?
We getting money to bail him out of jail.
And when you bailed him out, what did he say to you?
He said to me, thanks. And I said, you need to pay me back.
And what did he say?
He said, yes, he'll pay me back. And I stressed it to him. I need this money back.
All right, Mr. Reyes, now I'm going to hear your version of the events, sir. What were you arrested for?
Driving with a suspended license.
So I gather you took the car keys and went home.
I stayed in the bar till 2 o'clock in the morning till they had last call. They did not come back. He had left his keys on there. He did not tell me he was going. They both just left. So how am I supposed to get home? I took the keys and I drove home. When I went home, there was a cop already there. They had my name on a piece of paper like someone had called the cops on me already. So I went there. He asked to see my driver's license. I showed him my driver's license, and he took me to jail.
Then you called him.
Yes, I called him.
And what did you say when you
I
called
said,
him?
well, what happened yesterday? He goes, oh, I left you the car. He said, I didn't come back yesterday. He said, why, where are you? I said, I'm in jail. He goes, oh, don't worry, I'll get you out. He said, don't worry about it. Trust me, I'll get you out. I don't have the money to pay him back. I didn't ask him to bail me out. If he bailed me out, it's because he felt sorry for leaving me with the car. He knew I couldn't drive with a suspended license. I didn't want to drive.
Why was your license suspended?
Not paying a ticket. And I got pulled over before, and he gave me a ticket for driving with the suspended license. And he said, next time you will go to jail. So I didn't want to drive.
Where do you live?
I live in Orlando.
And is that where the karaoke bar was?
Yes.
Now, Orlando, Florida is a major metropolis. I've been to Orlando, Florida. Do you know what they have in Orlando, Florida?
Disney World? I don't know.
Do you know what else they have in Orlando? Taxi cabs.
Your Honor, I had no money.
Your Honor, I left him with money.
Shh, just a
I
second.
left him set.
Just a second.
All right.
Yeah, by the time the bar was closed, I was broke.
Mr. Reyes. Mr. Reyes, that's what you call lack of planning, sir. Because if you were waiting for him and he didn't come back and he left after 20 minutes, something should have gone on in your head that said to you, maybe I am stranded here, so I better take the $20 that he gave me and put a couple of dollars away so that you could call a taxi cab to take you home, since you didn't have a driver's license.
I understand what you're saying, Your Honor, but he left me an ATM card. Taxi cabs do not take ATM cards.
And $20.
He had an open tab on the bar. When it was closed with $20 I had spent drinking.
What happened as a result of that case, Mr. Reyes?
They gave me day served.
And a fine?
Yes.
How much was the fine?
The fine.
Quite welcome. Fines have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss O'Neill, you and the defendant were engaged to be married, and according to your complaint, the defendant used your credit cards. You had not given him permission to use the credit cards, and he racked up bills in excess of $5,000.
Correct.
The defendant says that he had the right to use your credit cards. You had given him permission.
Correct.
You have a counterclaim, sir, that it's a whole potpourri of stuff. You claim that you put a lot of money in a truck that she kept and some other stuff, which you will explain to me later. Miss O'Neill, when were you and the defendant living together?
He moved in late September.
And tell me about the credit cards.
The credit cards are in my name and my name only. The credit cards had a zero balance, and I took the defendant once to go shopping for his children for Christmas presents. I was aware of that, and I'm not disputing those charges. And we also had put a down payment on my ring on that same credit card. He said it was his responsibility, and so when the statement came, he would make the payment directly to the credit card company. He'd give the envelope to me sealed, and I would mail it from my place of business, and so on and so forth.
He took the bill sealed?
He took the bill, he sealed and I'm assuming opened it to pay it, but I never...
But you never opened the bills?
I didn't see the bill because, again, it was his responsibility because it was presents for his children and, again, for the deposit on the ring. I didn't see the statement because I had nothing on there at that time. And, Your Honor, I really do feel like this matter was something that was brought forth premeditated. I think that he...
Okay, so let's get to the story, and then we'll discuss whether it was premeditated or not.
Okay. I had the credit cards put safely in my bedroom because I was not going to be...
Well, so far you had one credit card that he used. What about the... You said now you had
There's
another
a second
credit
card that had gotten mailed to me that I did not use anything for. We took one trip to Tahoe that we did use. And again, I'm not disputing those charges. We charged about $150 that weekend. So what had happened was I placed the Visa in the headboard of the bed, and then when the MasterCard came, I also put it with that as well.
When did you discover that there were excessive balances on the credit card?
On March 27th, I received a notice that there was a certified letter at the post office waiting for Jason that was for a storage unit that I had had my bed in that had all of his other belongings in it. So I was a little suspicious because obviously it wasn't a Christmas card. It was probably an eviction, and that means that he was back a couple months. So I confronted him that evening, and I asked him, how are we doing on the bills in general, my ring, the storage, you know, little things like that. He said, oh, honey, you know, we're caught up, we're fine, and he also got offended that I would even ask him something like that. So he was at that point lying to my face. So that morning when he left for work on the 28th, I went through a side of his bed that there were drawers that he kept a number of receipts and tax return information. When I found the credit card statement, I noticed that I also found forged receipts that have my name forged in his handwriting, and also a lot of the receipts in his possession matched my credit card statements with an outrageous balance. So
What was the balance?
the balance on the credit card was almost $6,000. That was the Visa, and the MasterCard was about $1,500.
You have those statements?
Yes.
I'd like to see them, please.
Did you want to see the forgeries too?
Yeah.
Okay. These are the receipts, and then these are some information along with my copies of my time card as to...
No, just give me the receipts, please, and the balance that you found on each of the cards. Am I correct that there was some cash withdrawals as well?
Correct. And I've never made a cash withdrawal, and I don't know how he got the PIN, but my name's Aaron, and he had commented once before that he had called for insurance purposes on the truck, that he used my name, Aaron, and he thought it was kind of humorous that he could get information using my name. And so I'm assuming he might have used that method to obtain a PIN number, because I don't know my PIN. I've never used cash advance.
Did you ever get a PIN number yourself?
I never received one myself. I don't know if one was ever mailed or, because I don't use that. And Your Honor, on a lot of the forgeries too, he's misspelled my name, so.
Okay, your turn.
Okay. Your Honor, I have some proof here, some letters here showing that she did give me permission to use the credit cards.
Mr. Valley, let's start from the beginning, sir. I want you to start with where you got the credit cards from, when you took them out and used them and signed her name.
Your Honor, I used the credit that she gave me the credit cards to hold in my wallet. There was nothing in, no coverage or nothing like that. She gave them to me when we go out at night and stuff like that. She didn't want to carry a purse, so she gave me her driver's license and her credit cards. Sometimes she'd have a little too much to drink or something like that, and we're checking out, okay, and it's like, you know, we're signing away, and she'll say, just sign the credit card. I didn't think this was a problem. I had no idea. I always had the credit cards in my possession because when I first met her, she used to keep her credit cards in the freezer in a bowl of water, okay, because she had using the credit cards too much. She racked up bills and stuff like that.
Yes.
When I first moved in, you know, she says, okay, you know, pay minimum rent, you know, here's my credit cards, you pay off your credit cards, okay, and she says, well, you know, I have a better interest rate and that let's use my credit cards when we need them, as long as you pay me back. And I was making the payments, I
Just a
was paying
minute.
them back.
There we go. As long as you pay me back.
Yes.
Okay, you see, you keep talking. Sometimes if I let you keep talking, and you stick both feet in your mouth. So, you acknowledge, sir, let me take your best case scenario, that you used her credit cards, but the agreement was you would pay for those credit card bills.
Correct.
So why didn't you pay them?
I was paying. I have proof here that I was paying them every month.
How much were you
Okay,
paying?
I was paying $140 a month.
So therefore, Mr. Valley, you acknowledge that you owe her $5,000.
No.
Well, explain that to me, sir.
Because
either you took the credit cards, pay attention to what you just said. Either you took the credit cards, as she says, without her permission, or you had her permission, but your agreement was that you would be paying a minimal rent and you would take care of all the charges on the credit cards. That's what you just told me a moment ago. So explain to me why you don't owe her $5,000.
I was to take full responsibility what I put on the credit cards, Your Honor.
That's not what you told me, sir.
Well, that's
I mean,
what
how
I
does that work out? You order 2 egg roll, you pay for yours and you don't pay for hers?
No, Your Honor.
You you put gas in the car, you split that down the middle. How does that work?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Chevy pickup, when we purchased it, it was bone stock.
No, I purchased the truck. He has credit worse than a 2-year-old.
And later today,
I apologized and I told her I was late on the payment and that I would get to it. She...
Talk. Did you make March's payment?
No.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aaron O'Neill says ex-fiancé Jason Valley forged her signature to make unauthorized credit card charges. Jason says he had permission.
Go ahead.
If you look on the credit card statements, it shows her charges, then my charges, her charges, then my charges.
I'm talking about your charges, which are in excess of $5,000, sir. Not her charges, the charges that you made, whether it be for gas or restaurants or anything else. Now, are you telling me now that your agreement was that you would split those charges 50-50?
We never had that agreement, no.
So your agreement was that you were supposed to pay the credit cards?
For my charges, yes.
Right. All right. So we just took care of that. Give a guy long enough, and he always just gets right in there. All right, Mr. Valley, now let's get to your counterclaim, sir. Let's start with this truck that you say she owes you money for.
Back in October, we purchased a 98 Chevy extended cab four-wheel drive together. Okay? My financing wasn't going to be the greatest. She said, let's put it in my name. We'll get a cheaper finance rate. The Chevy pickup, when we purchased it, it was bone stock. It was no add-ons, no nothing. I purchased lift kit, all kinds of accessories, and when we broke up, she came to my shop saying, I want the truck. I said, that's not a problem. I will take my stuff off, I will put your tires back on, do whatever has to be done. No, I want it now. I said, well, I'd like to have my property, and she says, no, take me to court.
Yes.
Okay. We purchased the truck? No. I purchased the truck. He has credit worse than a 2-year-old. I purchased the vehicle myself.
Who's making the payments on the truck?
He was making the payments on the truck, which I also show that he was also delinquent on the payments for the truck. So I had to pay $500 just to get current when all of this happened.
Who's making payments on the truck now?
He was. Oh, I am.
Now?
Oh, I am.
Is the truck in your name?
Yes. Always has been.
Did you ever make an arrangement with him that he would be reimbursed for any additions or any modifications that he put on the truck?
No.
All right. Now let's leave the truck for a minute. Did you enter some sort of a contest with him?
Yes.
All right. And that's the last part of your counterclaim, sir, that she owes you for half the prizes that were awarded to you as a couple from this dream wedding contest, which turned out to be not a dream wedding.
Nightmare.
So, tell me about that.
We won gift certificates to different places like jewelry stores, and it was like $3,000 in gift certificates.
Okay. You want to respond?
Yes, Your Honor. The total for the gift certificates retail face value was $3,305. None of the gift certificates have been used. I have sold about half of them in retail value, and I have had $1,200 from those gift certificates, and I'm also showing that...
Show it to him, as a matter of fact, first, before you give it to me.
And I also have the original entry showing that it's all in my handwriting and my effort that was placed forth, and again, my effort to sell.
But you won as a couple?
Correct.
All right, and you sold some of them, is that right?
Right, and the ones I have remaining that I did not sell actually equal $50 greater value than the profit that I made on the ones I sold, and I'm more than welcome to hand them over to him now.
Okay. Mr. Valley, you want the other half of the gift certificates?
That's fine, Your Honor.
Give them to him. Perfect.
There's the photographer, $955, a caterer for $250, and then 2 vacations. One has a retail value of $475, and the other's unmarked, but it, I'm assuming is around
whatever. That's what he wants. He wants to sell it or he wants to use it. All right. Now, I think that we have resolved this matter. Mr. Valley, you owe $5,000 for the charges that you put on her credit cards that, according to you, you were supposed to pay for. According to her, you stole. I take your word for the fact that you had a permission, but you agreed to pay for them, so you owe $5,000. The vacation packages and the photographer, you have half the value of the gift certificates. As far as the truck is concerned, I find that there was never an agreement that you would be reimbursed for anything that you put in the truck. The truck is in her name. She is currently paying for the truck, so for the truck you get nothing. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He really thought he was sneaky and that he would get away with stealing forever.
It's her word against mine.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ritchie versus Morales. Step forward, please.
Salesperson Tammy Ritchie is suing her sister, nurse's assistant Tristine Morales, for the unpaid balance on a car loan. Tristine says Tammy repoed the vehicle, so she's not paying.
Miss Ritchie, the defendant is your sister.
Yes.
According to what I read, your sister needed a car. She didn't have good enough credit, so you co-signed a car loan for her.
Yes.
When was that?
January of 2001.
What kind of car was purchased?
The 2001 Toyota Echo.
And what was the amount of the car loan?
Just over $13,000.
And I assume your arrangement with your sister was that she would make the car payments.
Yes.
And maintain the insurance on the car. According to your complaint, she didn't do that. You repossessed the car. You took the car back from her. And now you feel as if she should pay you at least $5,000, which is the maximum allowed in this court, because you're stuck with the car and the payments. Is that what this case is about?
Yes.
Okay. And your sister says she doesn't have the car, so she doesn't see why she should make the payments. What were the monthly payments on the car?
$296.
When did you repossess the car?
April of 2001. She had not made any payments on it, so I had to, I had talked to her first.
When was the first payment due?
I believe in February.
Did you make February's car payment of $296?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I was behind in bills, and
so you have no reason.
The first payment that I was supposed to make, I was behind, and it was late, and I had told my sister I apologized that it was late, and that I would take care of it as soon as possible on my next paycheck.
Did you finally pay that car payment?
No.
What about March? And
No.
I'll ask you for proof of all of these things. So in March, you didn't make
No,
car
I didn't
payment.
have the car in March at all.
You had the car in
She had
April.
taken the car away from me.
No, she took the car back in April.
No, she took the car away twice. The first time was in March.
Then she gave it back to you.
She gave it back to me after I had went, and I apologized, and I told her I was late on the payment and that I would get to it, and she...
Talk. Did you make March's payment?
No.
And then you took the car back in April?
Yes, not
Okay, now, you don't have to say anything else. Your sister's a deadbeat. I mean, what do you want?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tammy Ritchie says her sister, Christine Morellas, owes for a car loan. Christine says Tammy repoed the car prematurely.
What kind of track record did your sister have with you that would have said to you this was a smart thing to do?
Well, it's my sister, and I wanted to help her. She has the 2 kids. She has a job. She said she couldn't get to work, and she was having problems.
So she needed a brand new car?
I wanted to get her a reliable car, something that she'd have the kids in, something that she can go to work in.
How is she getting to work now?
She bought a car.
Really? When did you buy a car?
2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Really? What did you use for money?
My income tax return.
What kind of car did you buy?
It's an '89 Honda Prelude.
That's what you should have bought before, not a brand new car.
But the agreement was that she was going to take care of this car and buy a car.
Let me see the papers on it, please.
You want all this?
Yeah, let me take a look at it.
There you go.
Well, what do you expect your sister to do with your debt, madam? What do you expect her to do with your debt?
You know, paying the car and making my payments wasn't a problem.
You
It
didn't
wasn't.
make the payment.
The first payment was late, and
You
I
didn't
and I
make
made the
the
agreement
payment.
that I would pay her, and that wasn't a problem. When we made the agreement the second time around, I was making my payments.
You didn't make February and March's payment.
I made 2 payments.
What do you expect her to do with this car now?
It wasn't a problem for me having the car. It
What?
wasn't. She took the car away from me the
No,
second
it was a
time.
problem, madam. If you didn't make 2 months worth
I was
of car
making my
payments...
payments on the second time around. I was. She
Pay
took the car away from
attention.
me again.
Oh, you know, I mean, are you stupid or what? If you don't make a February car payment and you don't make March...
I made 2 payments in April.
Show me.
She has all the
Show me.
receipts.
How much
She
did she give
has
you in
all the
April?
receipts.
And what happened was, for the first 2 months, payments were not made.
Of course.
Okay,
She
so she didn't
acknowledges
have an
that.
insurance, and I put her on my insurance until she got her own. After I put her on my insurance, the insurance company told me she had like 6 points on her driver's license, which skyrocketed my insurance. I took her off my insurance and said, until you get your insurance back, until you get your own insurance, I'm not going to do this. I can't do it anymore. And that's when she just gave up and didn't want to pay anymore. I tried everything in there.
What do you intend to do with this car?
Well, if things go well today, I intend to take both the cars into to a dealership, turn them both in, and apply this as a deposit. If everything goes well today, I want to apply it toward a
everything
deposit.
goes well, Miss Ritchie, is a problem. Because what you're asking me to do is to say, you probably will get this amount of money for your car. And I can't do that. I don't know whether it's going to be $3,000 or $4,000. I have no idea, and neither do you.
I'm sorry, I do. I've looked into doing it. This is not something I've not done lightly. It's taken me a while to do this. The car payment right now, Blue Book's at $6,000, $7,000. The car's still owing about $11,000 on it.
Okay, let me go back and check the Blue Book. The old trusty Blue Book, $7,700 in fair condition. Good condition is $8,825. So let's say it's $8,000. Did your sister give you any money whatsoever towards the car?
$300 total.
Okay.
Your Honor, on the Blue Book value, that's maybe Blue Book, but you can't trade it in for that value.
Listen, I can do the following. I can make an award for you today of $440. If she gave you $300, she owed you $740. And then what you can do is you can go and sell the car, and then you can refile your lawsuit. What is your pleasure? I can't speculate.
I will sell the car.
Parties are sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Miss Eskridge, you claim two things in your lawsuit. First, you claim a couple of small loans to the defendant to help him out with rent and stuff. And you were his girlfriend, according to you. And then you say that at a party, he became enraged about something, threw something at you, and cracked your head open. Mm-hmm. Your head had to be stapled together. You want him to pay for your medical bills, your pain and suffering. Mr. Curl says he has the clue as to what you're talking about. How do you know him?
In November, my neighbor called me, and she told me that him and his girlfriend have an apartment underneath me, that his girlfriend had kicked him and his 4-year-old out at 4 o'clock in the morning, and could I help? I had previously helped her, 3 other people, referring them to the manager. She's my friend, to get apartments, so she knew that I would help. He was staying at my friend's house. I gave her like $60 for rent for him and his baby to stay.
For him?
Mm-hmm, and his little girl to stay.
Okay.
But anyway, after that, in December, he got an apartment in our building. I went to the manager and begged for this apartment.
Okay, and what other money did you give him?
$65 for food one time, $100. He broke out his girlfriend's windows in her apartment on New Year's Eve because she was in the house with one of his friends, and he busted out all the windows, and they were going to evict him. So he asked me, could I help again? Because he was going through a custody thing with this baby, and me and her just hit it off right away, this little girl. I said, yeah. I gave him $100.
Did he ever say anything about repaying this money to you?
Yes, ma'am. He told me as soon as he got through with the custody stuff, on which would be the 16th of May, with his daughter, he would start paying me back this money.
Now tell me what happened with the assault, Miss Eskridge.
He was having a get-together, and I thought it was kind of rude since I helped him out that he didn't invite me. I went to the balcony.
Were you dating him at the time?
Yes, he started wanting me to date him as I was helping him.
Well, did you date him?
Yes, I did, yes.
For how long?
Up until...
how many weeks did you date him?
About 8.
8 weeks. Okay, so you dated him for 8 weeks, and then he had a party and he didn't invite you.
Mm-hmm.
So you went to the balcony of your apartment or his apartment?
His.
So you went to the party even though you weren't invited?
I went to the balcony. I didn't go inside. I didn't go inside. I just went to the balcony. He was standing out there just to talk to him.
And what happened?
I asked him something, and we started arguing. Next thing I know, looked down. He had something in his hand. But as soon as I saw it in his hand, I was hit and bleeding. That's how quick it was.
And what happened as a result of that injury?
I had to have my head stapled. They stapled my head together.
You have the medical records? Can
Yes,
I
ma'am.
see them, please? Did you file a police report?
No, because I was afraid that with the custody stuff, I didn't go to the hospital till the 15th. It happened around the 13th. I was scared. He wanted me to leave with him after he hit me. He was scared, I was scared. He wanted me to leave with him. He took me to his friend's house, and his wife looked at my head. I didn't know if the police was going to come and take his daughter away. I was so close to her, attached to her, I was scared. But after 2 days, I was in so much pain, I had to go to the hospital.
So you didn't go to the hospital for 2 days?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Miss Eskridge, can you tell me who these people are?
My son and my dad.
Were either one of them present when you were assaulted?
Yes, my son.
Okay, step up here. Tell me your name.
Jerome Messenberg.
Jerome, do you live with your mom?
Yes.
Who else lives there?
My sisters and my brothers.
I have 6 kids.
Do you know Mr. Curl?
Yes.
Have you ever seen him in your home?
No.
He's never been to your home as far as you know?
No.
Tell me what you saw on the day that your mother was injured.
I was outside with two of my brothers, and my mom was standing by the balcony. I don't know what she was doing, and then I seen something hit her in the head, but I thought nothing of it because the way it bounced off, and it looked like a rubber ball, like it could be a rubber ball or something soft, so the way it bounced off.
Did you see which direction it was thrown from?
It came from inside of his curtains, inside of his house.
Did you ever see what it was?
No.
you never saw what it was.
His nephew told me, other people in the building told me what he threw.
Well, you can't tell me
I
what
didn't see
anybody
it.
else
I didn't
said
see it.
to
I
you.
just seen something in his hand, and
Okay.
I didn't know what it was.
All right, Mr. Curl, let me hear from you, sir. Tell me about this party that you had in your house.
I had like a little get-together, but no, she wasn't invited. Because for one reason, she wasn't my girlfriend, and my girlfriend stayed in the next apartment. And then, you know, but she was a friend, and yes, me and my girlfriend, yeah, we had a little misunderstanding, but she done a little things for me, but I know it was a loan. She never told me it was a loan.
Did she give you any money, sir?
She gave me like a little change. Here you go.
I'm not talking about change. $60, $100.
No, she bought me like probably some like McDonald's for me and my daughter.
What about these windows that got broken out, sir? You want to tell me about that?
Yes, I will. Yes.
Look at me and tell me.
That was a case that happened, and they found out that it wasn't none of me. It was a friend of mine that did that to my fiance's windows, and that's
a friend of yours?
Yes, a friend of mine. It wasn't none of me that did that. And my fiance.
When did that happen?
In the month of December sometime.
The management company talked to you about maybe evicting you?
No, they just told me since a friend of mine's done it, I got to pay for the property. I mean, for the damages.
Right.
And which I done.
Who gave you the money?
My own money.
How would she know about that?
How would she know about that? Because she stayed right above us in the same complex.
She says that she was injured at a party in your house. You know, that's when she came and she was not invited. What do you know about that, sir?
I don't know. I don't have no idea about that. I haven't seen it. You know, she said she was on the back of my patio, and I did have some company back there, and they know how she do things. She comes around and disturb everybody.
How does she come around and disturb people?
By, you know, cussing everybody out, putting things on my doors, windows, banging on my windows early in the morning.
Like what?
Like notes.
You have any of those notes?
Panties, yes, I do.
I'd like to see them, please. Miss Eskridge, why do you put these notes on their door?
It may not be what I put. It doesn't look like.
Show them to her, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They swing. He opened the door up, and the man peeked his head up. The man had no clothes on.
And later today,
I kind of went on a high-speed pursuit for a couple of cities.
Was this the first time you were arrested, Kenneth?
Correct, it was.
No, Kenneth. Don't fib to Mother Nature.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Noelle Eskridge says ex-boyfriend Jackie Curl owes for several loans. Noelle says she received staples in her head from his assault.
I'd like you to tell me why you put those notes on the door.
Okay. After I loaned him some money and went to his door and knocked on his door, I want to look at it and make sure it was my writing. Because the way he's sitting here lying, I want to make sure it was my writing. I went to his house to ask him for some of my money. It was a man inside of his house, half naked. And he opened the door up, and the man peeked his head up. The man had no clothes on. A friend of theirs, their wife, she told me to be very careful because they swing. And I was enraged because his girlfriend chased me with her girlfriends for 3 months down in a car. When I was helping his daughter in November through December for 2 months, I was chased with women and her. I couldn't figure out why she had women with her chasing me till people told me what they do. And I was enraged when I found out because I felt I wasn't given the choice, that I should have been told if you were these kind of people. I was enraged when I did that. I was just shocked when that man came to the door.
Miss Eskridge, do you take any medication?
No, I don't.
Currently under a doctor's care?
No.
In order to have a successful lawsuit, Miss Eskridge, you have to prove two things as far as a loan is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You have to prove to the judge's satisfaction that there was, in fact, money turned over and that there was a contract that that money would be repaid. I don't find that here. The second thing is you claim that Mr. Curl assaulted you. Mr. Curl says he did not assault you. I have to be satisfied before I'm satisfied that someone has caused such serious physical injury that there's sufficient proof. And I don't find that there is sufficient proof that Mr. Curl, either intentionally or otherwise, caused you the injury to your head. What I do find is that I think it's a good idea that you don't have any contact with them anymore. Not leave notes on his door, not leave notes on her door, because I don't think it's good for you.
No.
I think if what you tell me is true, then you made a mistake in judgment as to someone's character. And you extended yourself, and you should think twice about doing it again.
Right.
Do you understand? But right now, what I think you have to do is say, you made a mistake with him. He's really not a nice person. I don't want to have anything more to do with them, with either him or with his girlfriend. I've got children that I have to take care of that rely on me, and I don't want to waste any more of my energy on this man or his girlfriend. Does that make sense to you?
It makes a whole lot of sense, you know.
Good. I'm glad.
You know, he stalks me.
I'm,
you know, very badly. It's
then,
bad.
Well, then what you have to do is say, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
And I'm going to move on and not have anything to do with them because I have a greater responsibility. And my great responsibility is to my children. And I have to be mentally alert and healthy for my kids. And I don't want to take anything away with people who aren't nice. So don't have anything to do with them anymore.
All
okay?
Right. All right.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just think it was outrageous because he asked me to marry him last Wednesday.
I was dealing with a woman that's kind of, you know, maybe can be fatal.
He's crazy, and he needed to pay for what he did.
Wannabe girlfriends need not to be posting notes on other women's doors and panties, because they won't be so nice next time.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sanford Keogh versus Ames. Step forward, please.
Parquet Joanne Sanford Keogh is suing her former friend, 25-year-old transportation worker Kenneth Ames, for an unpaid loan for bail. Joanne claims she bailed Kenneth out of jail when he was arrested after a high-speed chase.
Ms. Keogh, the defendant was a friend of the family, and you claim that he owes you $1,500 for bail.
That's correct.
He seems to say, I don't know what she's talking about. Right?
Correct.
So we're going to find out. How do you know him?
I know Kenneth through my husband. My husband introduced me to Kenneth maybe about 6, 7 years ago. And since then, we've been doing favors for Kenneth for I don't know how long. On March 4th, 2001, I got a phone call from the jail saying he needed to be bailed out. It was Kenneth. And I told him then, I said, I don't have any money. I said, so I can't bail you out. He goes, oh, well, I have the money. So as soon as you bail me out, I'll write a promissory note to the bondman that I'll pay. I said, well, okay, you get that together with them, and then you call me back. In the meantime, I got 4 other phone calls from the bail bond saying, okay, it's been arranged, the third party's paid the money, all we need is the signature. So I talked to Kenneth again on the phone after that, and I tell him again, I said, Kenneth, are you sure you're going to be able to pay? I said, because I don't have any money, and I'm not going to be able to pay this. Oh, yeah, I can pay. You know I have your rent money, I have the car money, so forth and so on. This is what he was saying. So I signed for him.
So you guaranteed his bail?
Yeah.
You didn't actually put out any money?
No.
But you signed as a guarantor?
Right.
Let me see the paperwork. I'll get to you in a minute, Kenneth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joanne Sanford Keogh is suing her former friend, Kenneth Ames, for an unpaid loan for bail. Joanne claims she bailed Kenneth out of jail when he was arrested after a high-speed chase.
What were you arrested for, Kenneth?
Disrespect for public safety.
What?
Disrespect for public safety.
And you had got $25,000 bail for that?
Correct.
Tell me the facts underlying that case, Kenneth.
The facts underlining, pulled over at a bad timing, unfortunately without a license at the time. Did an unfortunate thing, I've taken the police for a drive. I kind of went on a high-speed pursuit for a couple of cities, places, here's and there's, and at the end of it...
Was this the first time you were arrested, Kenneth?
Correct, it was.
It's the first time you were arrested?
No. Excuse me.
No,
I'm sorry.
Kenneth. Don't fib to Mother Nature.
Okay, yeah, I've been arrested before, true. But have I been incarcerated before, prior?
I asked you if you'd been arrested before.
Okay, arrested, yes.
What kind of work do you do, Kenneth?
Caltrans.
What is that?
Road work. Work on the freeways, clean up, pick up.
Okay, so now I see what's left on this bail is $1,450. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Who made the payment of $90?
Kenneth made that one payment.
Just a minute. And then I see another $25 payment.
I made that payment out of my personal account after they called me on my job, harassing me, telling me they were going to garnish my wages and so forth.
So he really owes you $1,475.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'll hear from you, Mr. Ames.
As her story goes, correct, I was bailed out of jail. I already knew I was in there. I could either be OR'd without having a record prior to my name, so I figured if I even sat in there, it did not matter. But yet the fact of friends and other people that I knew said that I shouldn't sit in there due to the fact that anything could happen at any time. My employment could go down the tubes. So to get out of there.
What's the name of that comedian that talks and you can't understand him? Foster Brooks?
That's the one that acts drunk.
I don't have a clue as to what this man is saying to me. You want to start again?
You cannot understand what I say, excuse me?
I cannot understand a word of this defense. Not a word.
Here, let me start over then.
Good.
As you know, Miss Keogh did not put up any money. Other people all came together to bail me out. All she had to do was sign to say that it would get paid. When I got out, I paid all the people back. Now, the remaining balance, I was told Miss Keogh was asked to make a payment for some reason. Then when I found out it was a $25 payment, which the payments were $90, I mean, petty, called me up telling me, I just paid your whole payment for you this month. You didn't pay me a payment, you paid $25. That's not even, that's barely a quarter of the payment. Stop there. I'll make sure that the rest of it gets paid. It was paid off totally in full.
You have proof of that, sir?
Unfortunately, the person who did the payment off, his wife has the receipt. I cannot get in contact with her because he is gone right now.
No, all you have to do is go to the bail bondsman.
They have all my numbers. They knew when I lived with my mom when I also got out.
To me.
If I owed a prior balance...
Pay careful attention to what I just said. You said somebody else paid off the remaining balance.
So there was no balance.
But their wife is having a baby and is
none of
in
that.
Saskatchewan, whatever. So you couldn't get the receipt. So I said to you, that's your defense, that it was paid by somebody else and that there is no balance. You go to the bail bondsman and you say, I'm going to court next week. Can I please have a statement showing zero balance?
They say they don't need to show a statement because it's all gone. Their computer shows no record of Kenneth Ames. I have no balance with them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I owe them nothing.
You work full-time?
Yes.
You on salary?
No.
You get any kind of assistance? Is that what you're working for?
No.
You work for nothing?
No, I do not work for nothing.
Well, what do you work for?
Caltrans. You know what Caltrans is? California
Transit.
Well, that's what he said. That's why I asked him if he
Service.
got a salary, and he said no.
It's not a salary. I get paid by the hour. Ask for the hourly wage, not a salary. Salary would be a set pay, huh?
Stewart. Vice been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
All right, let's see how quickly we can do this. Ms. Arell, according to you, the defendant is your ex-boyfriend.
Correct.
And he owes you some money. I did the math. I don't quite see where you come up to $5,000. I'm sure you're going to try to explain that to me. The money comes from two sources. One, you claim that you went on a vacation together, and he was supposed to pay you for at least half of the vacation or the whole vacation, and he never did. The vacation, according to you, was under $1,000.
Correct.
And the second thing was a loan that you made to him for some furniture for his new apartment. That was $190.
Correct.
Tell me about the trip. When did you take it?
We went on May 22nd of 2000.
Okay, what were the circumstances surrounding the trip?
He was just beginning a new job. He was supposed to start the following week. We had some time off. He had told me that for many, many years during his childhood, he had wanted to go to Disneyland. He had never gotten the chance to go, and we would like to go, with the understanding that since...
No understanding.
Okay.
He would like to go on the trip.
Correct.
I want to hear your version of the conversation. No
Okay.
I don't want to hear your understanding.
Okay.
Go ahead.
He did not have the front money to go on the vacation, but if I would agree, I agreed to put it on a credit card, in which case there was a payment plan and that it would all be paid back in the next year.
He said that to you?
Correct.
You got your bill from your credit card?
Yes.
How much was the total trip?
The trip alone, $960.
Did you show him the bill?
I did.
And what did he say?
He said no problem. He began his payments, and it was
How many
actually
payments
fine.
did he? How many payments did he make?
He made 2 payments directly on his paid dates.
How much?
The very first one was $40.
He followed with $20.
So according to you, he paid $60 in total.
There was another $20 payment weeks later. There was $80 total.
Okay. So he's making these small payments, and now tell me about the furniture.
We had previously, prior to the
Were
trip.
you living together at the time?
No, we were not.
Okay.
At that time, a couple of weeks after we returned from vacation, he did have to leave the residence where he was staying with a family member. And he stayed at my house just for a couple of weeks until he did find his own residence.
And?
And he had come here from very far out of state when he had originally moved here. He hadn't acquired many things other than a bed and such. And being that I had no point to distrust him at that time, I did agree to buy a few things for the apartment for him.
How much did you spend?
It was just under $200.
What do you mean just under $200?
It was the credit card totals of $191.
And he wasn't working at the time?
He was working at the time.
So why didn't he pay for those things himself?
He didn't have any money saved up, and he had made a few payments to me.
Paid $40,
He just had to pay
$20, $28?
Had to pay rent to get into a new place, too.
Okay. So far, if everything that you say is accurate,
yes,
it's $191 plus $880.
Okay.
$1,071. So you want to explain to me why we have a lawsuit for $5,000?
Absolutely. There were other very small charges. His pet was hit by a car, had to have emergency surgery. Veterinary clinic needed payment to receive the animal back, things like that, that I did put on. That was just prior to the trip. That was May 2nd. The unfortunate thing is that I had one credit card at the time, and we used that for the entire vacation, and due to the fact that it was in 2000, because of non-payment, I've had interest for over 2 years on a credit card.
Should have paid it off.
Which he agreed to.
You should have paid it off.
You're right.
Right.
If I had the money, I would. You're right.
Shouldn't have gone on the trip if you didn't have the money.
Mm.
He didn't have the money, you didn't have the money, then you don't go to Disneyland. You don't go to Fantasyland if you don't have, neither one of you have the money.
It's difficult to turn down a somewhat free vacation with someone that you do trust. I did trust him very much.
No. Listen to me.
Okay.
When did you meet him?
January.
You met him in January.
Yes.
You're going away in May.
Correct.
Right? January, February, March, April, May. Did he have a job in January?
The entire time, yes.
He had a job in February?
Correct.
March?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
So why didn't he have any money? You told me he was living with relatives.
That was kind of the problem. He never seemed to have any money.
Well, then I don't know. I would begin to scratch my head if I were an intelligent girl.
I did shortly thereafter.
Well, you do it shortly before you expend money.
You're right.
I mean, you wanted to trust him. The fact that you wanted to trust him doesn't mean that you had any cause to trust him.
Right. We had a rapport built up. He'd borrowed very small amounts in the past, and he paid them back immediately. I had a lot of trust in him at the time.
Well, so then maybe if he borrowed small amounts, he paid them back immediately. Maybe his answer to your lawsuit has some validity. Mr. Stewart, what's your answer, sir?
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Yeah, we went on this vacation, all right? We started going out on Valentine's Day that February. It was supposed to be like a gift to me, okay?
Why would you make a gift of a trip to you?
Well, Your Honor.
Don't be an actress, please.
Okay.
Your Honor, I love her very much, all right? And I think she felt the same way back to me. And I thought it was just, you know, she knew I was getting stressed out at my job. She was getting stressed out, and she told me it was the happiest place on earth. So, so we decided.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I mean, I just have a hard time seeing how, you know, a $400 trip to Disneyland has accumulated to $5,000.
It hasn't.
Okay.
Only in her mind. Only in the fantasy of her own mind.
And later today,
I had a lady from Protective Services show up at my door. There had been a conflict at their home, and I was under the impression Teresa was hit, and that's why she came to stay with me.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Orell says ex-boyfriend Robert Stewart owes for an IKEA shopping spree and for his share of a trip to Disneyland. Robert says Disneyland was a Valentine's gift.
Why didn't you have any money to go?
I just relocated to Oregon, and I guess I just really don't know how to manage my money that well, especially at the time. And
were you using drugs?
No, ma'am.
Well, if you were working, you were living with relatives.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? And you weren't spending a lot of money on the plaintiff. What were you doing with your money?
I really wasn't making that much money at the
What kind
in the
of
first
work were you
place.
doing?
We worked at a detox detention center together.
Were you working 2 jobs at the time?
Shh, I don't speak to him. All right. Let us say that the two of you should not have gone on this vacation together if neither of you had the money. So let's say you split this vacation.
Well, in that case, Your Honor, I mean, I would say that if you did have an agreement like that, it would be a $400 trip. And we got back, and she was having a hard time paying her credit card. I gave her almost $400 to help her out with her credit card in the first place.
Did you?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have any proof of that?
No, I don't.
When did you give her $400, sir? She said you gave her 80.
It was just over a period of time. Like I give her $50 here, $50 there.
Really?
I mean,
Do
just
you
to help her
remember?
out.
You remember all those times, Mr. Stewart?
Yes, ma'am.
You got a pretty good memory.
Well, it's just, I mean, $400, that's not that many payments of $50.
Was it cash or checks?
It was cash.
Are you speaking to him?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, I just have a hard time seeing how, you know, a $400 trip to Disneyland has accumulated to $5,000.
It hasn't.
Okay.
Only in her mind. Only in the fantasy of her own mind.
Okay.
All right. We talk about furniture. You're talking about pots, pans, teacups. What about that?
Your Honor, most of this stuff, she was staying with relatives at the time as well. And she asked me to hold on to it at her place because she had it in storage. I had it in my place. As soon as we broke up, I helped load it up in her car for her, and she took it all back.
What about stuff she bought? Do you know?
She bought a couple of things like plates and such, and, you know, we got it from like one of those dollar stores where they sell plates, you know. And I mean, she did buy stuff for me, but I was under the impression it was a gift. You know,
Did you ever tell her that you're going to pay her back for it?
No, ma'am. There was
I
no
don't
meeting
believe
of the
that you did
minds.
either.
Ma'am, I have a witness also.
I'll hear you witness.
Okay, thank you.
Tell me your name.
Heather Walker.
All right, Miss Walker, tell me what you know.
I witnessed a conversation at my home between Mr. Stewart and Kimberly, where he very clearly stated that he knew he owed her a large amount of money. He was going to pay her.
Well, tell me about when that happened and under what circumstances.
It would have been about a week after my birthday of that year because Kimberly and I weren't able to be together.
When's your birthday?
July 11th.
Okay, so in July, you witnessed a conversation. And tell me what you best recall of the conversation.
That they'd visited for about a half an hour. They were going to leave and go to a restaurant. Mr. Stewart said that he did not have cash on him and would Kimberly mind paying for this, whatever they had eaten, and he promised to pay her back.
Now, what did he say? He said, I'll pay you back.
He said, I will pay you back.
I'll pay you back.
Yeah. I'll give you your money back. She made sort of a sarcastic remark about, like the other money that you paid me back.
Right.
That's about the end of the conversation, but except for he got a little bit defensive because I asked him why he hadn't been paying. He said, you know what, I don't want to fight about this. Kimberly's already been giving me some guff about it, and I will pay her back.
And did they go out for dinner?
Yes.
And I assume you paid. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't recall that conversation at all.
I don't recall you paying me $400.
Listen to me. Don't speak to him. Okay. If you wanted to speak to him, you shouldn't come here.
Can I submit a few things to you?
I'm not interested in the few things that you want to submit to me, madam. Let me explain something to you. You had a romance that ended 2 years ago.
Yes.
Put a period and move on.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Do you see your daughter, Teresa?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Well, she lived on bad terms, and until she gets her act together, Your Honor, I don't want her in my house because she's a danger.
How's she behaving in your house?
She's a handful.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kimberly Orell says ex-boyfriend Robert Stewart owes for an IKEA shopping spree and for his share of a trip to Disneyland. Robert says Disneyland was a Valentine's gift.
I believe that if the two of you took a stupid vacation together when neither one of you could afford to go on a vacation, the two of you ought to pay for it. I do not believe, Mr. Stewart, and even if I tended to believe that you gave her more money than you said, you had no proof that you gave her more money than you said you gave her because, according to you, she said to you, let's go on this wonderful trip together. You don't go on a trip if you can't afford it. So you have to pay for half the trip, $480, and I give you credit, sir, for the $80 that she says that you paid her back, which means that you owe her $400. Then we get to the quote-unquote furniture. I get the sense that you wanted to help furnish this little apartment for him so that he would be comfortable. Certainly, even if I believe you, and based upon what I've just calculated, I did, he owed you, according to you, $960. So he makes a $20 payment on $960, and you don't look like an unintelligent young lady. He had promised, according to you, to pay the whole thing back in a year. Well, if he makes $20 payments a month, That's going to take him a lot longer than a year to pay off $960. Well, then you're still going out for dinner with him, and according to your witness, still paying the bill. All not very smart. When your head is ruled by your heart, sometimes you do foolish things. And all I can suggest to you, Miss Arell, is that you put a period and move on. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. That's all.
Why did that excuse? Can they step out?
I think it's pretty bad that, you know, you have to go to court to solve some problems that can be solved at home.
Let this be a lesson to people. Don't ever lend anyone money. They'll twist it and turn it. And it's just going to be a bad situation either way.
There was no money owed, so there's no payments to be made.
Don't lend money to your firstborn. It doesn't matter who it is. Don't do it. You'll get hurt.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hill versus Pito. Step forward, please.
Food clerk Lori Hill is suing her ex-husband, maintenance technician Dennis Pito, for the return of child support. Dennis says Lori still owes him for an unpaid medical bill.
Miss Hill, you and the defendant have 2 children together, 2 daughters.
That's correct.
And according to your complaint, both of the girls were living with the defendant. Was that by court order?
Yes.
How long had the children been living with the defendant?
About 8 years.
And how old are they?
15 and 12.
What are their names? 15-year-old.
Teresa and Amy.
You were ordered to pay child support to the defendant for the 2 girls.
That's correct.
According to your complaint, there came a time when one of the girls came to live with you, and there was an agreement that since there is sometimes a lag in the accounting through the court, that any money that you paid after your older daughter Teresa came to live with you would be returned to you. It is your claim that Mr. Pito owes you $303. Mr. Pito says that you actually, despite the fact he doesn't have a counterclaim, owe him for a medical bill for one of the girls. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. The children had been living with Mr. Pito for 8 years. Did you have visitation with the girls?
Yes.
And under what circumstances did Teresa come to live with you?
I had a lady from Protective Services show up at my door. There had been a conflict at their home, and I was under the impression Teresa was hit, and that's why she came to stay with me.
What was the amount of the support that you were paying for the 2 girls?
$102 weekly.
How long had you been paying child support?
For the whole time that he
For
had
the whole
him,
8
years, yes.
Did you have a discussion with Mr. Pito with regard to the child support when Teresa came to live with you?
Yes, he, when he dropped her stuff off at my home, he had this paper for us to sign.
May I see it, please? Thank you. Okay. You say you'll waive the $104 in child support. That means that each of you was going to take care of 1 child, and there would be no support paid by either one. Is that right?
That's right.
And that is dated 12/4/01. Was any money taken out of your check after the 4th of December?
Yes, I have all my...
Is that the $303?
Yes.
Do you acknowledge, Mr. Pito, and let's not get to the medical yet, that the plaintiff paid child support beyond whatever these debts are of $303 that you received after December 4th?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay. Now tell me why you think that you shouldn't have to give that back to her.
Well, Your Honor, when I made that agreement with her, after that, I realized there were still pending medical bills from when Amy had her asthma attack on September 2000, and there was a $1,700 bill. And at that time, she was still required to pay 36% of that $1,700. And after talking to the medical staff that was billing me, she told me that most of it might be taken care of, but at the very least, there's still going to be a $212 balance.
What do you mean most of it was going to be taken care of? What does that mean?
Well, because between her insurance and my insurance, they're trying to see who's the primary and who's the secondary. And before that's settled, and when I have to pay the bill, I want to make sure that she doesn't have any more outstanding bills.
So what you're saying is you signed this document, then afterwards you realized that there may be some money owing for a 2-year-old medical bill because the insurance hasn't been sorted out yet. Is that right?
That's right.
Mr. Pito, when you get your act together with regard to how much money you think Ms. Hill owes you, and all the insurance claims have been submitted, and ultimately resolved, you have the ability to go in and file a claim against her if she still owes you any money. In the meantime, you have to return the $303 that you accepted from her after you signed this document indicating that you would not be taking any money from her. She would not be asking you for any money. You were both going to assume full financial responsibility for each of the girls that were in your custody. Okay? Now, that's easy. Do you see your daughter, Teresa?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Well, she lived on bad terms, and until she gets her act together, Your Honor, I don't want her in my house because she's a danger.
She's 15 years old. How's she behaving in your house?
She's a handful.
She's a handful.
Yes, she is.
I've got a feeling that you got the easier end of the bargain at this point. Is that right?
Your Honor, I've had custody for those girls for 8 years. And
Mrs. Thompson. Has been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Gibbs, the defendant's daughter, I assume this young lady.
Yes.
Is a babysitter for you.
Briefly, yes.
And your lawsuit wants her parents to pay for the following, because she's a minor.
Correct.
She ran up a phone bill from your house?
Mm-hmm.
So you want them to pay for the phone bill?
Correct.
And you want a return of the money that you paid her for babysitting?
Yes.
Because you say she was not a good babysitter.
Not exactly because she wasn't a good one, but more or less she was not attending to them.
Okay, that's your lawsuit. The Thompsons have a counterclaim, and the Thompsons want you to pay more for babysitting, because they say that you owe their daughter for babysitting. And they say that they also want punitive damages because they say that you were a bad influence on their daughter, which they will explain to me. So let's see where we can fix some responsibility here. What is your first name?
Clarissa.
When did Clarissa start to babysit for you?
Early February. I probably have an exact date in my calendar. Yeah, early February, like around the 9th, I believe, is the first time she babysat for me.
And how did you find her?
They lived above me in the apartment complex and had talked about babysitting and asked her to come over a few times prior to that.
Who did you talk to?
Clarissa.
Directly?
Yes.
So that all the arrangements that you made were with Clarissa?
Yes, ma'am.
And you arranged a fee?
Yes. After about a week or so, we decided that I would just go ahead and give her $30 a week because I was using her for an hour here, an hour there during the week.
So far, Clarissa, is that correct that she was going to pay you $30 a week?
No, it is not.
Well, what was she supposed to pay you?
Well, she agreed to pay me $20 every time I babysat for her, which led to almost every day.
Really? $20 a day, even if you only babysat for an hour?
It was more than an hour. I would stay overnight sometimes because she would come home so late.
So starting the beginning of February, she started to babysit for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right, Clarissa?
Yes, I started February 12th, actually.
Okay. Did she babysit for you in March?
Yes, she did.
Is that right, Clarissa?
Yes.
And you got paid?
Not really. She only paid me like once, and that was $60.
In all the time that you babysat for her?
Only $60.
Really?
Yes.
What about April? Did she babysit for you?
No, ma'am. I received my first phone bill on March 24th.
And that's when you stopped the babysitting?
Actually, I had stopped babysitting about a week prior to that. I had come home and my 2-year-old had burned a popsicle stick on the stove. He said he was cooking it.
Okay. And how many weeks in total had she babysat for you?
Approximately 4 or 5.
How many weeks?
6.
Let's go through your book and figure out exactly how many weeks she babysat for you.
Would you like the book?
Yeah.
I didn't write down always when she babysat. I know I have the first few times written down.
She babysat every week for you after you hired her. She babysat for you for 5 weeks. Now, according to you, you were supposed to pay her $30 a week.
February 22nd was the first time I gave her $30. So I would imagine it would have been the first part of that week that we had made that agreement.
Well, then it's 4 weeks.
Okay, so
4
it's about a
weeks
week.
times 30 is $120. Now, how much had you actually paid her?
I've actually paid $140 because of the time prior to that.
So according to your records, you're all paid up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, tell me about the phone bill.
Clarissa would use the phone when she babysat, and from the very beginning I told her I did not have a problem with her using the phone, not to make long-distance calls. I'm a single mother. I don't have means to pay for long distance. I don't use long distance myself. I received my first bill on March 24th, I believe it was, that I put on there, and the long-distance charges for that month were $308.40.
Who were you calling, Clarissa?
It was an ex-boyfriend of mine at the time.
Did you know that that was the wrong thing to do?
When I first started babysitting for her, she told me that I
had all privileges of the phone. She never told me not to make long-distance calls.
Well, did you make those long-distance calls in your own house?
Sometimes.
What do you mean sometimes?
Well,
did you ever get a phone bill for $300 a month?
No, ma'am.
No, of course not. Don't fool around with me, Clarissa. Don't fool around with me. Okay, so that's $308. Was that the total phone bill?
No, then I received one in mid-April for $31 in long distance, $87 in collect calls, and...
Was the boyfriend making collect calls to you?
No, he always called me direct.
So nobody called you collect?
No.
Does this have the number of the...
Yes, it does.
Is it the same number that she
No,
called?
ma'am, it's not. It's a Fresno number. And I asked Clarissa, have you been accepting collect calls from this number? And she says, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. And I have here $85 in collect calls. There's...
Well, she says she doesn't know whose those are. But it really doesn't make any difference.
They're not mine.
Let's say they're Clarissa's.
Mm-hmm.
Why should her parents be responsible for that?
Because she's a minor.
No, you're responsible for it. And I'm going to tell you why you're responsible for it. Because you have a mechanism where you can put on your phone a block so that you can't make long-distance calls.
I've never had a need for that. I make long-distance occasionally.
Let me explain something to you. Your business arrangement was never with Clarissa's parents. Your business arrangement was with Clarissa. And if you want to ensure that things in your house are not abused, you have to take steps to do that. Her parents can't come into your house and do that. You have to do that. They are not responsible for the long-distance call made by their daughter in your house. You're responsible. You have to be prudent and vigilant. Make sure that the phone isn't used. Put the phone away. Lock up the phone. Disconnect the phone. Do whatever you want to do with it. But there is no way that you are going to hold the Thompsons responsible for her calls that she made.
I had
not going to happen.
The agreement with her mother at one time, though, Your Honor.
I don't care whether you discussed an agreement with her mother or not. They're not responsible. You're responsible because they have no ability to see to it that in your house the phone isn't abused. They know how to do it in their house because her mother wouldn't tolerate it. Right?
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You think you're entitled to more money?
Well, yes.
Really? How much do you think she owes you?
Well, see...
Give me an idea.
I say about over 600.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robbie Gibbs says former babysitter 16-year-old Clarissa Thompson ran up her phone bill with long-distance phone calls. Clarissa says Robbie still owes her money.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, he would call her directly when I was there.
So?
So I never had any clue that she was calling him or making
Neither
collect
did her
calls.
mother. Neither did her mother. You want to take care of your phone? Lock it in your drawer. It's not a mother's fault. You'll know better next time. You hire a babysitter, you take out the phone. Or you put a block on it. You say you can't make long-distance calls. That's it. Not legally responsible. And I can't find that her parents are responsible because you have the responsibility of ensuring that when you hire a teenage babysitter and you know that they sit on the phone and they can sit on the phone for hours, you make sure that they can't get to your phone. All right. Now, you want to tell me why you think you're entitled to any money back from the money that you paid her for babysitting?
Because she wasn't babysitting. She would go in my room and shut the door and use the phone. I came home on an occasion when that happened.
When was the first time you came home and found her?
It was about 2 weeks before I had her quit babysitting, and I told her she was not welcome at my home anymore. Her mother came down. We talked about it. Her mother assured me that it would not happen again. The following week is when I came home and my son had been burning a popsicle stick.
So? Then you fired her.
And then I fired her, yes.
So why do you think you're entitled to anything back?
I just put it in there because I thought that I paid her for services that were not rendered.
You should have been more vigilant. If I came home and found my two babies weren't being cared for by a babysitter, I would say thank you very much. I'm paying you for the day. You're not welcome back here anymore.
Which is what I did.
No.
And then her mother
you had a
came down and
conversation
spoke
with
with
her
me.
mother, and her mother assured you it wasn't going to happen again. Come on. Get real. All right. Now let's get to your counterclaim, if you're serious about it. You think you're entitled to more money?
Well, yes.
Really? Why don't you tell me why you think you're entitled to more money?
Well, because I did babysit for the kids, you know, like, because most of the time she was barely in there. She'd send her oldest son to come get me at 6:30 after she got off work, and then she'd be gone all night.
How much do you think she owes you for babysitting?
Well, see...
Give me an idea.
I say about over 600, but
Really? You think over $600?
Yes.
Really? And you babysat for her each and every week?
Yes.
And you accepted the money she gave you, and you didn't say to her, no, you owe me more than $30 a week. I'm not taking the $30. You came back and you babysat for her again, another week, and then another week, and then another week.
She kept promising me, oh, I have to go to the bank, oh, I haven't got my check yet, or I haven't cashed it.
That's what she had kept telling me. So
I'm just going to sit on the phone and talk to my boyfriend. Forget any more money. Chalk it up to the time that you were sitting on the phone in the bedroom, chewing the fat with the boyfriend. You got me?
Yes.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
Yes, ma'am. I was suing her for punitive damage because, actually, I don't want to do this.
Smart. Smart. It's her responsibility to take care of her phone. It's your daughter's responsibility to do the right thing if she's babysitting. I'm sure that you've had a chat with her about abusing the privilege of somebody else's phone. I have a feeling you have.
Yes, I have.
Okay. All right, Miss Gibb. Next time, you just be a little more careful, madam. That's all.
Please excuse. You may step out.
I was pretty upset.
I'm very sorry for Mrs. Gibbs, and I hope that she get her life together.
She said that she had permission. Her parents said, no, you didn't have permission.
They both played on the telephone.
Let's let teenagers babysit anymore.
not to babysit for people like her again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Harvey versus Hyatt. Step forward, please.
Student Tammy Harvey is suing her ex-boyfriend, mechanic Glenn Hyatt, for the cost of breast reconstruction surgery. Glenn says Tammy's surgery is not his responsibility.
Miss Harvey, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours, and it is your claim that he promised to pay for some repair work on breast implants that you had while you were together. You've since broken up, and he refuses to pay for this reconstructive kind of surgery, which you have not yet had. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Were you living together?
At one point.
When?
From March till December of the past year.
And you had breast augmentation surgery previously, is that
Yes.
right? When? How old were you?
27.
Okay. So when you were 27, you had breast augmentation surgery for the first time. Did you ever have any subsequent surgery?
Yes, I had problems.
What kind of problems did you have?
With the first set, I had hardening, which they took them out and put saline and silicone in, where they would enhance them gradually so it wouldn't build up the scar tissue.
And how
then
old were you when that happened?
all of this happened within 5 years. I had like 5 surgeries.
5?
Mm-hmm.
When you were 27, you had the first surgery. When did you have the next one?
Like the year after that.
Why?
After the hardening, they wanted to take out the bulbs that they used to put the saline in. And when he took the bulbs out, he wanted to just put in a new fresh set with the upgraded implants.
So that's when you were 28.
Right.
When did you have the next surgery?
It was a couple of weeks after that I developed a staph infection, and they removed the right breast implant, and then I went a year without an implant.
Without?
Right.
Miss Harvey, you went and had the implants put in again.
I had to because the skin had stretched so much. The doctor said it wouldn't look normal if he hadn't put another implant in there to replace the...
So then you were 29?
Correct.
So now I have 4 surgeries. When was the 5th?
The year after that, after the staph infection, he put new saline implants in, and then they were fine for the next 8 years.
What happened 8 years later? So at that point, you're about 38.
Right. I started dating the defendant, and I was having some problems. They were hurting. We massaged them together, Glenn and I, and in an intimate moment, the right one, it ruptured. And it took some time before the saline came down. But over time, you know, it was obvious, and it made a real impression on my self-esteem and everything. And the defendant and I were engaged to be married, and we were getting his finances in order so we could be married. So I was taking care of the majority of the bills and helping him. And when it came time for me to have my surgery, because last summer we couldn't enjoy going to the pool and everything like that, that's when he took me to the doctor. I had 2 consultations, and the surgeries were between $6,400 and $6,700. At that time, the defendant did a quick app financing the surgery, but it was denied. And now, you know, I wanted to get this taken care of because it is noticeable, and I have pain because scar tissue builds up around the implant where it is because it's flat now, it's not smooth, and I have a lot of pain, and psychologically it's just hurting me, and he's backed away from his commitment to me.
Well, I didn't hear about a commitment.
We've talked over the 2 years about taking care of it.
As a couple?
As a couple.
When you were sharing expenses?
Correct.
Okay, you want to say anything, Mr. Hite?
I just deny any responsibility for ever saying that I would pay for her surgery, and I had nothing to do with it, with her implant rupturing.
I have a quick app that he said he would pay for it, and I have the doctor's with a picture.
Okay, go ahead.
I filled out that application to help her get the money, you know, for financing her surgery, That's the only reason that I did it. It wasn't to say that I would pay for it.
I think that there is some truth somewhere in the middle of your two statements, and that is that it was contemplated that as a couple, since you were going to be pooling your money at some point if you got married, this would be a joint debt because you were filling out the credit application if you couldn't get credit, and you were going to be a couple and move on, and this was just going to be one of the things that you had to pay off. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay, so that's somewhere in the middle of he promised to pay for it and I didn't promise to pay for it. It was going to be a family debt. But you're no longer a family, Miss Harvey. That's your problem. There has to be a reason.
I put most of our debts for the past 2 years on my credit cards to help him get out of debt in the promise that we would be married. And I did have a promise he would pay for it. He's not telling the truth. He said he would pay for the surgery.
Oh, I think that it was a family obligation that when you were together, you put the majority of your money to use paying off debt. That was a nice thing. However, that does not create a promise that he would take care of this for you. I have just a couple of questions, Mr. Height. How much do you think she paid off in debt for you over the short time that you were together?
I don't recall her ever paying anything off for me. We took some trips and went to eat and things like that on her credit card. But as far as her taking money and paying any of my financial responsibilities, monthly debts and bills, that never happened.
So what you're saying is that she relieved you of certain stress by paying for your entertainment and your vacations
expenses.
and some living expenses.
He lived free.
Did you pay rent when you were living together?
I did not pay rent. I paid the utilities.
Not always. I paid 7 out of 5 times for the utilities.
I mean, you paid 5 times out of 7 months.
No, he was
Can't
more.
pay 7 out of 5. That math doesn't work. Miss Harvey,
Yes.
the romance is over. It's sad that it's over. And I'm not going to give you any medical advice because I'm not a doctor, but it seems to me a substantial part of your late 20s, early 30s, and now beyond are involved in recuperating from surgery. Maybe you should just say, this was not meant to be.
The doctor said that I would have to have the surgery, and the implants needed to come out because of chance of infection, and that
Do you have medical insurance?
No, I don't. They won't cover it because it's cosmetic.
Well, this isn't cosmetic if the doctor says it has to come out. For medical reasons, the chance of infection, then that's not a cosmetic reason.
They both
Ms.
denied my insurance.
Well, then I would appeal it, because if what you're saying to me is that you have medical proof that this is dangerous to your health, then your insurance should pay for it. They may not pay for the reconstructive part, but they certainly should pay for removing them. In any event, I find that no promise existed, no contract existed between the plaintiff and the defendant for him to assume the full responsibility of your surgery. And unfortunately, Ms. Harvey, I think you're going to have to assume the responsibility of this surgery yourself. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Jenkins, the defendant is your daughter.
I gave birth to her, yes.
And the co-defendant, your son-in-law.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you believe that your daughter and son-in-law owe you for their share of a trip that you took to Hawaii.
Yes.
You asked your daughter to join you so that she could help you with your wheelchair and getting around, and you agreed to pay for her.
Yes, I did that.
She wanted her husband to go along. You said you couldn't pay for him.
Yes.
Or would not pay for him, and she agreed to pay for him.
Right.
So you say that they owe you some $3,000 for the trip.
Well, there was more than that. I gave her the number to my credit card that she could use over the telephone, and so she charged up a lot of things for where we got started. Told her she could charge a car payment, utility bill, cellular one, Geico.
So a lot of other of their personal charges that
Yes.
they placed on your credit card.
Yes.
Can I see the list of credit card charges that you think that they owe you, Ms. Jenkins?
Do you also want to see where on a different credit card I paid for everybody?
Yes. Okay, so you paid for everybody's ticket and the hotel, but that you had agreed to pay for except for his ticket.
Right, and hotel. That's $800 and some for the whole thing. It was a package deal.
$25.33.
Yes.
I'm really more concerned about this credit card, $3,670.
I'm concerned about that, too.
Well, tell me what your interpretation was of the agreement that you had with your mother when you went, and the bills that you paid from her credit card.
When this came about, Miss Jenkins had said that she wanted to take a trip to Hawaii, and she was quite ill. She had emphysema, and that this might be the last chance she'd get to see Hawaii. She'd been there several times, and she knew that I had never been to Hawaii, and she also, we'd only been married a short time, and we didn't have a honeymoon, and she needed a caregiver, and my husband was a medic while he was in the service, and she felt that between the two of us, we could help her get around. But she also wanted to give it to us as a honeymoon present.
Is that what she said?
That's what she said. A honeymoon present that she was paying for 2/3, we would pay 1/3.
Or why would we go?
Just a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, and so I told her, I kept saying, no, we can't afford this. We just put a new roof on our house. We bought this older home that we were restoring. I had used both of our vacation time to go to my son's wedding in March in Kansas City. I had flown back to Maryland for my birth of my... I know, but there was no way we could afford to do this.
Okay.
I said, you know, if we're both missing a week of work, we can't pay our monthly payments. And she said, well, she had several credit cards with a zero balance, that she would be able to handle it.
As a loan or as a gift?
As a loan.
So some of your monthly expenses, in addition to 1/3 of the cost of the trip.
Right.
Okay.
Because I haven't been a part of Miss Jenkins' life, but the last 24 years, I have gotten to know my siblings, and they all told me that I needed to get everything in writing. They all warned me, or get witnesses. And in those phone calls, Miss Jenkins shared with us that...
Do you call your mother Miss Jenkins?
My mom, it is very hard, told us that it didn't matter how long it took, or how long it took, or how much we could afford per month. You know, that she really wanted to go on this trip, and she wanted to be able to experience the time. I've never been alone with my mom on a trip ever.
Why is that?
So she's never been a mother to her, Your Honor.
Well, I was 3 months old when I was sold to a family. It was considered like a black market by my biological father and mother. And
so you were raised by another family?
I was raised by another group of people that abused me for the first 18 years of my life.
And then you found your mother?
I was 29 when I made the first call on April 7th, 1978.
You have siblings?
I have 7 siblings.
All older?
2 older, and the rest are younger, and 1 sibling by my father.
So this was really the first time you were alone with your mother?
Alone without anybody except for my husband.
So you have every intention, or your intention is or was to pay back the expenses that you put on this card, your phone bill and your insurance and the other things. Okay. Did you pay back any of the money to your mother?
Yes, I did.
How much did you pay back?
The total is $1,026.
Now, as far as you're concerned, does that bring you up to date with your mother, both for the expenses that you charged on a card and the 1/3 of the trip? Doesn't look
We
that
don't know
way.
how much a 1/3 of the trip was.
We have never received any documentation telling us the cost of the hotel, the cost of the airplane ride, anything.
All I know is the trip to Hawaii was $25.33. 1/3 of that is $844.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other charges that you have on this credit card, which is what your mother gave me. Let me see if I can come up with a number.
I have letters here from both Mary Lynn and her husband that said how much they were going to pay and when they were going to pay. When she first came to Oregon, I co-signed for her to get a new car.
I'm not going, listen to me. Don't go back into ancient history. This is a very simple case, and let's not make it any more complicated, madam.
The last payments I got was for $13. That's what they're going to pay me the rest. $13 for 18 years will repay me for this loan.
How old are you, Miss Jenkins?
72.
You don't have a lot of money, but you have some, enough to keep you comfortable?
Yes.
Good. Is it important for you to have a relationship with your daughter?
Not now.
She never did before.
Just a minute. That's not her fault.
I was in the hospital when she was taken from me, and her father placed her with these people. I was in the hospital. He had deserted us. I was there for malnutrition and a kidney infection. And he brought these people to the hospital and said they wanted to adopt her. I throwed such a fit, they threw them all out. When I got out of the hospital, he had placed her with these people.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She told him that the used appliance man was my father. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Jenkins says her daughter, Mary Lynn Fowler, and her husband, William Fowler, owe for a trip to Hawaii and for unpaid credit card charges.
Miss Jenkins, I'm not placing blame.
Oh, okay.
I'm not placing blame. All I'm saying to you, it's not her fault. She was the baby. She was a baby.
That's right.
So
it also was not my fault. I tried.
Well, it's not her fault, so it has to be parents' fault because the parents are the parents. It's not her fault. All I'm saying to you is...
I was 18 years old when she was born.
All I'm saying to you is, it seems to me that it's a very sad state of affairs.
It is a sad story.
When a parent, especially with a circumstance where there has been a terrible estrangement over the years, for a couple of $1,000s, sues a child. That's something that I hate to see. If a child disappoints you by not repaying a loan, what parents usually do is say, I'm not going to give them any more money. It's a sorry state of affairs when you choose, under these circumstances, over a trip, to bring a lawsuit against your children. Now I'm going to turn to your counterclaim for a minute, which I believe you know at this point is nonsense, but I'm just going to make sure you know it's nonsense. Your counterclaim is for two things. You believe that you should be paid for caregiving services on the trip to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And then a certain emotional distress. The emotional distress, I'm sure, is some of the distress that you've just told me about. Well, you don't get paid for that. And as far as the caregiving for your mom, that was the arrangement. The arrangement was you were going to take care of her there so that she could travel. There was never any discussion of compensation, so you're not entitled to create a contract afterwards. So I'm sure that, but for the fact that your mother filed this lawsuit, you would not have filed your counterclaim. Would that be a fair statement?
That's right.
Yes.
The emotional stress, though, I did have to go into therapy, which was very helpful so that I could write the letter that started this whole thing. On January 2nd, I wrote her a letter sharing with her I knew the truth and that she doesn't realize I have the paperwork where she signed me off when I was 3 months old. I have 2 valid certificates of birth with 2 different names. The people that adopted me to put me in a life of abuse. I was 18 years. That's why the $13 for 18 years, for the 18 years of hell I lived in until I could leave home. It's not a matter of money. I was sold for pots and pans and the cost of her hospital bill. And my biological father shared in the guilt. He told me he was sorry. He thought he wasn't my father. She told him that the used appliance man was my father. So that's why he left. He didn't have any need to stay around any longer.
Mrs. Fowler, it sounds to me as if you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with.
And I do, and I appreciate your allowing me to share.
I believe that you have a lot on your emotional plate to deal with. So let me just make some suggestions to you.
Thank you.
You have children?
I have 3.
How old are they?
My oldest is 33. He's a president of a company. My daughter lives here in Los Angeles. I adopted her from Cambodia, and she's 41. She's married to a fireman here, and my youngest son is just 30, and he's a doctor of psychology, and he just was out of the Navy during the 911.
So it sounds like you have 3 lovely children.
I do,
They've done
and
okay.
Grandchildren.
And how many?
3 grandchildren.
Soon,
and
soon to be 3.
No, I have 3. 2 boys here, 1 girl in Nebraska, and 2 that are within the next week.
So it sounds like everything came together.
That's good.
Despite the pain in the beginning of your life. So the reason I asked you the age of your kids is because you had children when they were 18. Remember when they were 17, 18 years old?
Definitely.
Tell me about them when they were 17, 18 years old.
Hot cars and fun times, and we also went through...
But irresponsible.
They had to be respectful. You know,
but irresponsible.
Yes.
Irresponsible kids.
Yes.
Kids.
Sometimes.
So because I had 18-year-olds, a whole bunch of them, and they know nothing.
About life.
So I want you to just think about your mother being 18 years old, and you were her 3rd child?
3rd child.
3rd child. So something wasn't going right in her life.
I know that.
Because she must have had first when she was 14 or 15. Right?
And I understand
So
that.
something wasn't going right there. And nobody has a crystal ball. Very often adoptions turn out beautifully. Most often they turn out beautifully. People who want to adopt a baby really want a child very desperately, and they want to give the child a home. So if that even entered the mix of, I'm 18 years old, I got 3 children, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for tomorrow's bread, at least give my child a shot at a future. The fact that it turned out badly is a sin.
It is.
But I don't think that that sin can be visited on your mother, because you know what being 18 is, and being 17 and 16 and 15 and...
Nor did I ever say that I knew this dramatically, because I didn't want her to hurt. I have, you know, I've known for the last 29 years that I was bought. I was not ever legally adopted. There's no legal adoption papers. And I was told from birth on that I was not loved and that I was sold to them.
Then your quasi-adopted
Right.
parents
Right.
did a terrible thing.
They did.
And
they're gone.
Then
And
they...
everybody's dead but me, so that's why use
No, they're
mother.
not. No, Miss Jenkins, you
I'm
have
serious.
to...
All these other people are all dead.
You have to understand that your daughter, even though she's 53 years old, has certain hurts.
I understand that.
And that
I
she's
hurt
had
too when I couldn't
no,
get
no,
my
no, no.
baby.
Listen to me. It's different. You're the mother. You're supposed to be the one to take care of business, even if you are 18 years old. It was your fault you got pregnant. It was your fault you had her. And she's had to deal with certain hurts her whole life. And it looks to me as if she has done a responsible turnaround, despite her unfortunate upbringing. And she's raised a family. She has a nice husband. She has nice children. And she appears to me to be a lovely lady, despite the fact that she has pain. And I think you're making a big mistake by suing her. I want to tell you that I think you're making a big mistake by suing her.
Can I say something?
Sure can.
When she first found me, she called me. I got on a plane. I went back there. I spent a month with her. And while I was there, this man came to the door. He didn't knock. He said, "Mary Lynn, I'm coming in." This is the same man she was talking about that done all these things to her. She was 28 years old then. I talked to her ex-husband that she married at 18 years old. When I talked to her husband about this, he said he didn't know anything about it, or he would not have let a child molester in his home. I asked him, how could this be? She didn't share that with her husband? She was 18 years old?
Miss Jenkins, sometimes you don't share those things with anybody.
Now she's
Because-
sharing it with the whole
just
world.
Just a second. Maybe a little therapy and maybe a little maturity allows her to do that. But I won't allow you to dismiss that, because even if over the years the facts have become blurred, your daughter felt abandoned when she found out that she was not a biological child of these people, that she had not been formally adopted. And the fact that she married somebody when she was 18 seems to suggest that there were a lot of things going on that...
And she married a man with money so that her children could go to college. I didn't do that.
Just
I'm
a second.
sorry.
Just a second.
May I?
She has not had an irresponsible life. I think you're making a mistake by suing her, but there it looks to me, look, folks, I see that I'm not going to repair this, Miss Fowler.
Can I add,
Sure.
Can I add something? I've been silent. Yes, I've been silent. My ex-husband did not know about my abuse because I felt like I would have been dirty to him. The reason why the child molester came in my home was because he was at my grandmother's house. My biological mother was there. He came in because he wanted to renew old friendships with her. He was
That's
in
a
and
lie,
out.
Mary
He was
Lynn.
in and out of our home for the first 3 years of my life. He would come over and drop me off. She would babysit for me while they went out and partied. And you tell them that's
are
not
you
a
telling
lie?
me that you knew your mother?
My mother babysat for me till I was 3 years old.
In these
So-
other people's homes?
In her own home. They brought me to her
my
house.
home.
So at 3 months old, you were given to another couple.
Right.
But they allowed your mother to babysit for you
Right.
until you were 3
years old.
Miss Fowler,
Thank you. I'm
do you have a
sorry.
nice husband?
I have a wonderful husband.
You have 3 children?
Yes.
You're going to have some new grandchildren?
Yes.
Sounds to me as if everything is okay.
It is.
And you're trying to find A comfortable
closure.
path. A comfortable path for yourself. I don't think your mom's going to get there. She's not going to get there. And whether or not you can mend it, I don't know. And I don't even know whether it should be that important to you anymore. You know, you want it to be important, but I don't know if
Everybody wants a mom.
Yeah, but I don't know if it can be. So it seems to me as if you have somebody lovely to rely on, and you have a lovely family, and maybe it's just time to put that period. So, Miss Jenkins, I've gone over some brief figures. You're suing your daughter and your son-in-law for $3,048.38. I find that they owe you $760 on the bills, and I'm entering a judgment in your favor for $760. And if you want to cancel it, you can. That's all.
I want to cancel it.
That's up to you.
I want to cancel it.
Well, you want to cancel the debt? No, that's
No,
important.
I want to
You want to
cancel
cancel the
this
debt?
court. I want to cancel
Do you want to
this court.
cancel the debt?
No, I want the
wanna-
money I need to pay the credit card off.
$760 then is what you get, period.
I hope you enjoy it, Mary
Parties
Ann.
are parties have been, you're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mr. Hobart, the defendant is your brother.
Yes.
It's your claim that for a period of 2 or 3 weeks you were incarcerated.
Yes.
And during that time, your brother stole certain property from your house and sold it.
Yes,
That's
that's kind of about right.
And you were, in fact, living with him at the time you went to jail.
He was living with me.
How long had he been living with you?
As long as I remember, about 5 years.
So he moved into your apartment?
No, it's a house. We own the house.
What do you mean, we own the
Well,
house?
I own the house, and he's my brother. He stays there with me.
What did you go to jail for?
I missed the payment on my child support.
Mr. Hobart, because I don't want anybody to think that we live in a really terrible, terrible country. Nobody goes to jail for missing one child support payment.
Okay.
You
well,
and I both know that.
Well, maybe it was more than one, but it's taken care of, though, now, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of work do you do, Mr. Hobart?
Well, I work at an auto parts store, and I sell auto parts.
Is your brother employed?
No, he gets a disability.
What kind of disability?
Legally blind.
I didn't ask you. Do you know what kind of disability?
For his eye and his leg, because one leg is bigger than the other one, and he's legally blind in his eyes.
Does he have any other problems?
Well, alcohol, and as far as any hardcore drugs, I don't know.
But he has an alcohol problem.
But there's a serious alcohol problem, though.
How many drinks did you have today, Mr. Hobart?
None.
How many last night?
About 4 or 5.
Did you use any substances to...
No, I don't use...
Shh. Let me finish my question. Did you use any substances today or yesterday to sort of relax you before your court appearance?
No.
Only alcohol?
Yes.
And how many hours ago did you have your last drink?
Probably about 9 o'clock last night.
Are you anxious to have one now?
Not really. I'm kind of more nervous talking to you than worrying about a drink.
That was cute.
I'm just being honest.
That was cute.
I'm being honest.
Not 100%, Mr. Holbert. There were reasons that I asked that kind of question.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Now, what makes you think your brother took your property while you were in jail?
First of all, this is my girlfriend. Her name is Natasha. And I had talked to her on the phone, and she let me know that she saw my van driving down the street. And so I told her, can she go to the house and check and see what's going on? And when she got there, she said that Tony had some people load my big screen TV on the back of a truck.
Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Could you step up, please?
That's not true.
Shh. What did you see and when? What was the date?
The day.
Do you know the date, Mr. Holbert?
February, about between the 20th and the 22nd, something like that.
Tell me what you saw.
I saw his van just rolling down 30th Street. And then I knew it wasn't him because he was incarcerated. So I went to his house to talk to Tony about it. And when I got there, it was like 2, 3 people loading his big screen TV up on a truck. And when I asked them what was going on, the only response I got was it wasn't my business.
Wasn't your business?
Right.
Have a seat.
Thank you.
Mr. Holbert, it's your claim that there was a burglary in the house.
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
Tell me when the burglary took place, sir.
The night that she's speaking of, I went out and I come back and somebody had broken the house.
How did you know that?
Because the front screen was pulled open and the window was lit up.
How did you know that?
Because I looked at it when I came in the house. It's right there.
So you saw it?
Yes.
In the dark?
Yes.
Your eyes
the
must
lights
be...
was the lights was on in
My
the
eyes
house.
must be good enough to be able to see
No,
that.
The lights was on in the house and you could see the screen where the window was lit up.
Where had you been, Mr. Holbert?
I had been out with my friends for about a half an hour, riding around.
Just riding around?
Yes.
Hadn't been drinking or anything?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you make a stop or did you drink in the
No.
car?
No, we stopped at his house for a little while. Then when you dropped me off because he had to go to work in the morning.
So you saw somebody had broken into the house. When you went inside, did you take an inventory?
I just looked around and seen my TV was gone and his big TV was
Anything else missing?
gone. I saw that a DVD player was missing.
His?
And a VCR was missing.
His?
Yes.
What did the police say when you called them?
I didn't call them because I was scared to call them because I had a warrant for my arrest.
For what?
For assault.
For assault?
Yeah.
Is there still an outstanding warrant for
Nope,
your
I
arrest?
got it taken care of already.
When did you have it taken care of?
About 4 or 5 months ago.
What happened?
It was
with
only,
that?
I had to sit out a fine, that's all, and I was scared to call because I didn't want to go to jail for a $350 fine.
When did you pay the fine?
I just went and set the days out when they finally caught us driving down the street, and they pulled us over and they ran everybody's name in, and I had a warrant, so I had to go
When
to
was
jail.
this?
Back about 3 months ago.
So you just went and did your time?
Mm-hmm. 4 days.
In jail?
Uh-huh.
It must have been hard. No, they don't have alcohol in jail, do they?
No.
Okay. You have any other witnesses you wish me to hear, sir?
Yes, I got the person that Tony sold the TV to.
Really?
Tony don't, Tony don't, he don't know, he don't know.
What's the name of that person?
Michael Tatum. He's a friend of mine, and he knew something wasn't right when Tony was selling my TV, a big screen TV for like $350.
Man, what about my, I did not sell it till
Mr.
TV.
Holbert, where is the witness?
Can he come out? He's back there.
Where'd you get him?
Sure thing. No, I didn't sell it.
Can I say something else, Your Honor?
Yeah, while he's getting him, you can.
Okay.
What about my
Well,
witness?
I got pictures of the TV. I got pictures of the van. And when I come home to find out, it's like a yard sale. All my belongings is about the house. He's selling it. He's selling it.
You know you lying, man.
Mr. Holbert,
I can't even drive a.
I'm sorry.
I can't even drive an automobile. Period.
I want you to be quiet.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The people that bought the van changed the
Just
title
mean
over
he
to
sold
their
the van
name.
too?
Yeah, my van had TV, DVD player in it.
Just a minute, he sold your van?
Yeah, he sold my van.
And later today,
What were you doing outside fooling around with peaches?
We were throwing pieces at each other for fun.
Give me strength.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paul Holbert says during a stay in jail, his brother Tony Holbert stole his belongings and sold them for liquor.
All right, would you step up here? You're Mr. Tatum, Michael Tatum?
Yes, ma'am.
Stand up here, sir. Mr. Tatum, what do you know about a large screen television set that had belonged to the plaintiff?
Tony sold it to me.
No, I didn't
When?
either, man.
I don't want to hear you yet.
The middle or close to the end of February.
Tell me about how it came about that you bought this television.
I'm always in their neighborhood, and I seen Tony outside, and he asked me that I want to buy the TV because he needed to pay the bills. And I was like, how much you want to sell it for? At first, he wanted to sell it for a little bit more, but I talked him down.
To what?
$350.
Well, let me ask you this question. You knew the television didn't belong to Tony,
No, I knew that he stayed there, and it belonged to all of them, I guess. I don't know.
and that Tony was selling it.
To pay the bills.
Okay, and who'd you give the money to?
Tony.
You still have the television?
No, I sold it.
Why?
Because it's worth more than $350. I got way more than that for it.
How much did you get for it?
I got $700
That
for
ain't
it.
fair.
All right, let's have a seat. All right, now I'm going to hear your witness.
He was with me when after the house got broken into. I went around looking to see if anybody seen anything, and I ran into him.
What's your name, sir? Be very...
Jesse Williams.
Mr. Williams, let's be very, very careful about what we testified to, sir, okay?
Hmm?
Were you out with Mr. Holbert in the evening of either February 20th, 21st, or 22nd, driving around, drinking?
No.
And you were not there when he came home, allegedly, and found that his home had been broken into?
No.
Were you there when he made inventory of his house?
No.
So what do you know about this case?
When I seen him, he was upset. He told me that somebody had broken his house.
Where did you see him?
Well, he's walking around the neighborhood. We all live in the same area.
He was walking around, was he drunk?
Well, I mean,
What do you mean you mean? What, I don't know what that
he
means.
looks.
That's either yes or no.
He's Tony.
What does that mean?
I mean, he drinks all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Not all the time, I don't.
So I don't know if he's drunk or not. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But I seen him looking around the neighborhood, and he asked me if I seen anybody carrying a TV or microwaves and stuff, and I helped him walk around and look for it. But that was it.
Do you know what date it was?
It was around maybe the 23rd.
Really?
Mm.
So that would have been a couple of days after this alleged burglary.
Yeah. Well, all I know is he was
That there was a
telling me-
burglary in his house. That's
Yes.
what he told you.
Yes.
And you have no idea when that was in
No.
relation to when he told you that his house was burglarized.
Correct.
Perfect. Let's have a seat.
Thank you.
What was the value of the property that was taken, sir?
Well, I got a blueprint out of the van, what the value it could have been or whatever. My van had Dayton's. Here's a picture of it. It had Dayton's on it, TV, DVD player in it. I know I'll never ever get the full value of what it was worth, but it was mine and it had no business being sold.
You're absolutely right.
And I went. I tried to get a. Can I please talk? I tried to get a duplicate title before the people that bought the van changed the title over to their name.
He sold the van too?
Yeah, but they had already changed the title over to their name.
He sold your van?
Yeah, he sold my van.
Man, how can I sell your van? Where I'm gonna get the keys from?
Tony, when I was gone, my van was there, my keys was there, everything was there, man. And you know it, man.
Mr. Holbert, does he still live with you?
Yeah, he stays there, but I don't stay there no more.
I thought it was a house that you owned.
No, it is my house. Yeah. But this is my brother, though. No matter what, he's still my brother, and I love my brother.
Mr. Holbert, stop. This was your home. You say you own this home.
Yes,
is that
I do.
Right? And you allowed your brother to stay with you.
Yes.
Now you come in and tell me that your brother, while you were incarcerated for a short period of time, went behind your back, sold your van, sold your television, sold your VCR,
even the refrigerator. I got it all. Okay.
I want you to listen to me carefully, sir.
I'm sorry.
Sold your DVD player. Is that right?
Yes.
By the way, did you report this to the police?
No, I didn't make no, because I don't want him to go to jail.
Did you report it to the police?
No, I didn't.
You said you didn't put him out of house. He still stays there.
He stays there by himself, and I live with Natasha, because he don't have nowhere to go. And I can't just put him outside, even though you know, all my valuables is gone, but he's still my brother, though.
Where do you expect him to get this money from that you're suing him for?
Actually?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but it sounds to me like you forgave him. Because if he's living in your house, if he's living in your house, and if you didn't throw him out and say, go find yourself a room someplace, and it sounds to me like you forgave him.
Okay, but at the same time, he said, you know, well, give me like 2 months or whatever, and I'll have my own place.
So?
And 2 months then escalated on.
Well, why don't you put him out?
And I can't do that.
You can do that.
Yes.
You should do that. But this happened last February, right? And you haven't done that.
Nope.
Right?
He did.
So what do you want from me? If you said to me, I put him out immediately, because how dare he go behind my back after I... He did?
Yes, he did.
So where are you living?
He put me out for 3 months, and then I finally, my mom had to talk to him, and then he finally let me stay there.
So he put you out for 3 months?
Yeah, 3 to 4 months.
Is that right?
After when I came home, I found out what happened. We got into an argument or whatever. He said he was leaving.
You put me out for 3 months, man. And then Mama finally told me to...
Just a second. Did your mother... Listen to me, Mr. Holbert. I want you to be honest.
I recommended that he leave, but...
Shh. I want you to be honest, because you don't know what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So if you're going to try to think what I'm thinking, you're not going to be successful. Do you understand? You put him out for a period of time because of what happened. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then did your mother convince you to let him move back in?
Well, she was asking about it because he said he didn't have no place to stay.
Why couldn't he stay with your mother?
He didn't want her because they both are alcoholics, and when they get drunk, they ready to fight. I'm keeping it real. They fight. When they get drunk, they call me.
We don't fist fight. We don't physically
fight.
Man,
I got witnesses right here to tell y'all argue all day, all night.
Yeah.
Mr. Holbert.
We don't physically fight. I'm not gonna sit on here and say I fight my mom. We argue. We don't hit each other. We argue. There's a difference.
What's your first name?
Tony.
Shh. Quiet. Don't talk again. Mr. Holbert, I think you're entitled to your judgment because I absolutely believe that he stole your property. If you had told me that you let him stay in the house afterwards, I would say, listen, it's a family matter. You handled it family-wise. But you did put him out, which was the right thing to do. There has to be some consequence to what he did, even if it's just being uncomfortable for a couple of months. But I feel sorry for you because I have this sense that your mother prevailed upon you to take him back because she couldn't live with him because she's got her own troubles. Sounds to me like you might be the only normal one in the bunch. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, which is a minimal amount, $2,400. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Probably his girlfriend or somebody took it. I don't know. I know I did.
It just hurt me a lot that my brother would do me like that.
I still love my brother.
I still love my brother. That's my brother. He always gonna be my brother. That's my oldest brother. There we go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hoffman versus Birchfield. Step forward, please.
Grad student David Hoffman is suing his neighbor, demolition man Vincent Birchfield, and his wife Tara. David says Vincent's 14-year-old twins, Vincent Jr. and James, dented his car during a peach fight.
All right, Mr. Hoffman, it is your claim that the defendant's sons were fooling around and having a peach fight, which is throwing peaches at each other. And one of the peaches hit your car, causing a dent. You want the defendants to pay for that. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you neighbors?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and how old are these two boys? How old are you?
14.
It was good. They said that both together. Why don't you have a seat? You'd sit down. Yeah, get them up. Where do you expect to sit on your lap? Get over here. Give me strength. Used to be worried. What did you want to be? An engineer, doctor, a lawyer, a dentist, right? Right. Now you know what you're asking? Whether you want to be 15. What were you doing outside fooling around with peaches?
We were throwing peaches at each other.
Why?
Because we went outside and started throwing peaches at each other in front of our house.
Why?
For fun.
And where did you get the peaches from?
Peach tree.
Where was the peach tree?
In front of the building next to us.
Who did the peach tree belong to?
The owner of the building in front of us.
So you stole peaches from somebody.
No, he said we can have peaches whenever we'd like them.
To eat.
To eat or
Or
throw.
to throw.
Yeah.
You think you're a wise guy? Let me tell you something. 25 years from now, where do you think you're going to be?
On a job.
Let's hope so. So let's not be a wise guy, okay? If somebody was nice enough to say to you, look, I have a peach tree, whenever you want a peach, go and take it, they meant for you to take it when you wanted something to eat, not for you to act like a moron and take them off the tree and throw them at each other. That be a fair statement, that that's what the person intended when they were being nice to you?
Yeah.
Try yes.
Yes.
Or certainly you won't be an English teacher in 25 years. Were you throwing peaches too?
Yes. My brother didn't throw any. I never threw any peaches at him.
Hmm?
I was the one throwing them at him.
And what was he doing? He was trying
Running.
to catch them?
No, he was running away from them.
Were they ripe peaches?
No.
So they were hard peaches?
Yes.
How many peaches did you throw at your brother?
I threw about 3.
And who else was throwing peaches?
My friend David and Mason.
And was it at your suggestion that you go out and take the peaches?
Yes.
All right, so that fair statement is, under the law, you are responsible for their actions since you clearly got permission to take the peaches and you gave someone else the permission to take the peaches and throw them. And you say that one of those peaches hit your car, causing a dent.
Yes,
Did you
Your Honor.
see it?
Yes, I did.
You did?
I saw it occur.
Which boy did you see throw a peach?
They're twins, and it was difficult to tell, but I know one of these two.
They look different to me.
Well, they were, as my pictures depict, I was looking out my front window. When I heard a noise hitting the roof in my backyard, a carport, made a loud noise, my dogs alerted. I then went to the front window upstairs immediately, and I saw the peach fight in progress on the four corners.
Peach fight?
Peach fight. It was pretty intense. I mean, they were ducking behind cars. They were up in the neighbor's yard, up on his hill, behind his tree. I mean, it was crossfire going everywhere. So I saw peaches hit my car, and when I came downstairs, got dressed, came out to my gate, they were gone.
Oh, what is this picture of?
That's the dent from the peach.
You want to say something?
I'll wait my turn, ma'am.
You may not have one.
Well, I'd like to say a lot of things, and that's not what he showed us where the dent was. He showed us a different car and a dent in his door on his car.
Really?
Yeah, I'd like to depict a few things. May I get up and talk?
Why don't you talk to your sons about how stupid they were?
Well, Your Honor.
Why, just a minute. Did you talk to your sons about how stupid they were?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
But, Your Honor.
I didn't ask you another
He's
question.
leaving
When
a
I
lot of
asked you
things
another
out.
question, you weren't there.
Well, Your Honor, I came home.
Just answer my question. You were there or you weren't there?
Yeah, I was there.
You're a liar.
No, I was there after the peach fight and I came home. Yeah, I was there and seen what happened.
Just a second.
I was there. My kids aren't stupid.
The peach don't fall far from the tree.
That's fine, Your Honor. Touche, you know, whatever you got to say, but if you don't want to
I'm
let me
going
talk...
to say it because if I say to you, sir, were you present when this happened? And
The
you say
incident,
yes and you
yes.
weren't.
The whole incident, I have been present in some of the incidents, some of the things that happened, yes.
Get him
when
out
I
of here.
came home.
Get him out of here, please.
No problem.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Safford, the defendant is your child's maternal grandmother.
Yes, ma'am.
And your lawsuit claims that she had had custody of this child for a while, and then you were ultimately awarded custody of your daughter.
Yes,
And you claim an overpayment of child support.
correct.
Ms. Daniels says that while you may have had physical custody of the child during that period, she actually had legal custody by a court order. Is that right?
Yes.
And
that's
therefore
right.
she is entitled to the support. Is that your defense?
That's my defense.
Your complaint was rather sketchy, Mr. Stafford. But from what I gather, you had a relationship with the defendant's daughter. Is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
And the child was born, and you claim that you were told that you were not the child's father. Is that right?
That's correct.
Who told you you were not the child's father?
The social worker at the clinic there, the hospital where she was born.
When were you advised you were not the child's father?
The date of birth, I was present.
Is your name listed on the birth certificate?
No, it isn't.
Is someone else's name listed on the birth certificate?
Yes. After I had hired a lawyer, found out that the defendant's daughter was married. She never told me.
So there is another man's name as the father of the child on the birth certificate?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor.
Yes.
He's not telling the truth. He knew my daughter was married. We're cousins. And he didn't want it.
Okay. Did you advise the plaintiff that he may not have been the father of this child?
No. He was living with her when she got pregnant.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything.
No, but he knew he was the father. My daughter told him. When he was present at birth, my daughter stated to him to sign the birth certificate.
Ma'am, that's not true.
He wouldn't put his name on it.
That's not true.
You weren't there.
She
No, I
wasn't
wasn't,
there.
but my daughter is here.
You weren't there.
She refused to be there. She didn't want nothing to do with her daughter at the time when she was
What
giving
happened
birth.
when the baby
That's
was
not
born, sir?
true.
Because this is important.
What happened when Vendela was born was that she was placed in a foster home.
No, at the time of her birth.
Yes.
You were in the hospital when she was born.
Yes.
So at that point, you thought you were the child's father.
Yes. I was under the impression that we both were going to take a paternity test. The social worker came back and told me that Deirdre stated that I'm not the father of Vendela. And she said that the father's been named. I said, well, that's...
Don't speak because you weren't there.
My daughter
Don't
was.
speak because you weren't there. And your daughter was on drugs at the time.
No, she wasn't.
This child was born with traces of cocaine in her system?
Negative.
So why was the child placed in foster care?
Because of her past history, which I had no idea to the extent that it is.
You mean past drug history?
Yes.
And that's why the child was removed?
Correct.
You can stand up with your mother if you want to. At what point, sir, were you advised that you were the father of this child?
We took a genetic marker and paternity test.
When?
In 99 of March.
When was your child born?
1/28/98.
Between January 28th of 1998 and March of 1999, had you seen this child?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I didn't have no contact with the mother or the family after being told I wasn't the father.
And it was who that told you you were? Was it the social worker or was it the mother of the child?
The grandmother came into the picture probably 9 months later, subpoenaed me to court for paternity.
In 1998, you were told that someone else's name had been placed on the birth certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
Whose name was on the birth certificate?
It's my husband, which was separated. But he and I were engaged, and I was in the process of getting divorced.
There was no
Just a
engagement.
second.
There was no ring involved. There
Just
was
a
none of
second.
that.
Somebody else's name was placed on the birth certificate at the time the child was born.
Because I was still married, and they have to do that in the state of Massachusetts.
No, she lied.
1998, the defendant summoned you to court. Is that right?
It was fall of 98.
Took the paternity test in March of 99, and the results of that test established that you were the child's father.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you initiate custody proceedings?
It was August 4th of 99 that the adjudication was supposed to have been heard. For some reason, I have no idea. It went on for, I believe, 7 months until I was adjudicated. I have the document here that was signed by both myself, the lawyer, and the defendant, the grandmother who was guarantee relative of Vendela at the time.
Okay, at the time, the child was ultimately taken out of foster care and placed in the care of her grandmother.
Correct.
You have other children of this daughter, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
How many other children?
2, but I only have 1 now.
Why, is she taking one back?
No, she went to live with the father.
Did the grandmother consent to your having custody of the child?
There was a court hearing. She had no say in it because I was not mentally impaired or no drugs or anything like that.
How's your daughter doing now?
She's doing fine. I'm happy that I have her and that she's out of the environment that she's in. She's doing a lot better than she was.
Okay, when did you take physical custody of the child?
That was March 9th of 2000.
And how much child support were you paying that time?
It was $200 a week.
And when you were ultimately called to court, that was in 99, and they made a paternity order. They made a retroactive order so that you had to pay several $1,000s to the defendant.
Correct.
And you did, in fact, pay that.
Yes, that was satisfied.
How many weeks after you obtained custody of the child did the money continue to come out of your check?
Your Honor, why you look for that? Could I tell you?
Just a minute. Wait a second. I'll get to your side. I promise you.
A little over a month and a half.
So if you had custody for 7 weeks, that comes to $1,400. Okay, now it's up to you, Miss Daniels. Talk to me.
Okay, back referring to when he said he was supposed to take custody in 1999, it was because he didn't want to have nothing to do with her. We went to court and we signed this paper, and he was supposed to take custody. He made no attempt to get a place to put her, no attempt to help pay for her living expense. He gave me nothing. And then he tell you that he don't know why. It's because he didn't want nothing to do with the baby. That's why he didn't take it in 1999. And I have this paper proving he signed it, and he's supposed to take custody of it. But he didn't because he didn't want to have nothing to do with her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He pretended to be my friend and cared about me, and then we fell in love. He wanted a child. Then I had a drug relapse. I came to him and told him. He left me pregnant.
And later today,
You say he gave you the ring on May 8th. He says he gave it to you on April 1st. And you say that you hadn't seen the ring before.
Yes.
Baloney!
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christopher Safford says his daughter's maternal grandmother, Linda Daniels, owes for the return of child support.
Listen, your daughter created this problem.
Yes.
And I'm going to explain how your daughter created this problem. She was married to somebody else at the time she gave birth to this child.
True.
Which means, according to her, they must put his name on the birth certificate,
True.
that her husband. That's not always true. Doesn't have to put it down if she says he's not the father. He could be legally compelled to support the child until somebody else gets on the hook for support. However, she created this problem because
Not by
she
herself,
cannot,
Your
well,
Honor.
just pay attention. If this child went on welfare, welfare wouldn't know who to sue for the support. Do you sue the father who's on the birth certificate, or do you sue this man who hasn't been adjudicated the father? I mean, he's had the child now for a considerable period of time. The court would not have given him the child if he was unfit to have the
The
child.
court didn't give him the child at the time he took him.
Ma'am.
We gave her.
Ma'am.
After that.
Ma'am, if I may.
No, you
What?
don't have your
I need
turn.
to
For me.
speak
She talking to me now.
Go ahead.
Can I speak?
Go ahead.
This situation, this situation is my fault. But with my kids, the reason my kids are there with them, it's because I put them there. I've maintained a job and security, but I was not stable enough. And with him, he came to my family. We're cousins. He told my mom he was going to help me. He pretended to be my friend and cared about me, and then we fell in love, and he knew I was married, and then we got engaged. My mom had problems. She told him to stay away from me. He wanted a child. Then I had a drug relapse because I got clean. I had a drug relapse. I came to him and told him. He left me pregnant. I put myself in the hospital. That's why my baby wasn't
He's
born
laughing
with
like
drugs
this is
in
a
her
joke.
system.
It's not true.
I put
It's
my
true.
baby in the hospital so she
Because
would be clean.
my
and
daughter-
I put my kids with my mom.
My
in
daughter
foster
suffered
care.
from bipolar. I told Chris this.
And they took me off
She
all
had a drug
medication.
problem. I told
And
Chris
that's
that
how
too.
I relapsed.
But he was working with social people. He said the people that had drug problems, that he could help her.
I don't-
He
I
helped
never
her, all
worked
right.
with people with
yes,
drug problems.
Yes, you did.
No.
Listen,
That's what you
how do you know
told
what
me.
I've done for
And
work?
Miss Dash,
You told me
listen,
that.
Stop talking to each other. Listen to me. Listen to me. If he had physical custody of this child for a period of 7 weeks, you had no right to receive the support for the child.
took her.
Whether you had, I don't care whether he took her or not. The court left her with him. She's
No,
not.
She had custody. He kidnapping
I
charge.
don't care.
He took her.
I don't care. The money, listen to me, the money is supposed to go for the support of the child. If he's giving her money, that means he has less money to support the child with. It's not her money, it's the child's money.
I didn't take it from myself.
That was money owed to her.
Ma'am,
She's
can I
a
say
cat
No,
baby.
no, 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 no,
She's
no.
a cat baby in the state of
No, no, no,
Massachusetts.
no, listen
you
to me.
cannot get welfare
Listen.
with a family kept baby.
Listen to me
And he
very
owed her.
carefully. For the first several months of this child's life, the child was in foster care.
Yes.
2 years she had her with no money.
She didn't
Just a
have it for
minute.
2 years.
Then
Yes, I
there
did.
was a lump sum paid. Both parties acknowledged that there was a lump sum paid at
Yes.
the time when he was finally adjudicated the father.
Yes.
It should have went to the
Several-
state.
No, it shouldn't have.
Several $1,000s. What I'm saying to you is, this money, while the child was in his custody, that you got from his check, should have taken that money and said, here, make sure the baby has this money, because I'm not supposed to have it. It's not supposed to help defray my costs, my rent, my gas, it's supposed to go for the baby. So you owe him $1,400 and pay him. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm upset because my mom,
He
every
is a
cent
liar.
my mom got, she took care of my
Yes.
kids.
Clearly, all the allegations are not true.
He wouldn't even be a man and take his daughter when we
No,
called
he
and
didn't.
told him to please come get her.
As far as me taking care of my daughter, I've been doing that from day one since she gave her up.
And he's put my mom through this, and no one's getting hurt but our
Forget
daughter.
it.
It was clearly money motivated.
I'm not hurt. He's hurting the baby, not me.
It's clearly a mother taking control of her own daughter's life.
He left me pregnant with my baby.
baby. And I told you to leave him alone.
People like this need to be exposed.
Plus, he's cousin. You don't mess with your cousin.
When people like this come into court and clog the system up using our tax dollars and make a mockery out of it, that shouldn't be done.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeQuilla versus Roden, step forward, please.
20-year-old retail manager John DeQuilla is suing his ex-fiancée, 20-year-old assistant office manager Dawn Roden, for the return of an engagement ring. Dawn says they were never engaged.
Mr. DeQuilla, you are suing for the return of an engagement ring that you claim that you gave to the defendant.
Yes.
Let me hear about it.
Well, Dawn and I were originally together back in September of '99, and we were together until September 17th of 2000. She had gotten married after that, and she was having marital problems around the time of March of 2002, and she came to me. We talked, we were friends for a while. We started seeing each other again March 24th of 2002, and around the time about April 1st, I had proposed to her, and she
was still married at the time?
Yeah, she was. She was going through a divorce.
She wasn't living with her husband?
No, she was not. She was separated. She was living with her grandparents in Lynbrook. I proposed to her. She had accepted. The next day, we had gone to look at rings. We were just going to look, and she eventually talked me into getting an engagement ring. And I purchased the engagement ring and gave it to her that day.
On April 1st?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We were together for about almost 2 months. I was making plans on moving in. I was helping clean up the basement, get everything set up so we can move together. She was going through her custody battle. And I'd say about the second week in May, we'd gotten into a fight. She did throw the ring into my face, and I gave it back to another friend of hers. They called me back about 10 minutes later. They picked me up. We went out. By the end of the night, everything was fine. She had the ring on her finger again, and everything was, we were fine. Not too long afterwards, I had gotten a text message saying, "Don't take this the wrong way. Don't call me. I'll call you. I need some time to think." I gave her about a day or so. I called her back. She said she wanted to see other people. I said, I'll live with her decision. I just wanted my ring back then. And we made an agreement that on our next class, she was going to give me the ring back.
What kind of class?
It was for financial services that we were doing for our licenses.
You were taking this class together?
Yes. We were business partners at the time. And first time she said that she had forgotten the ring. So I said, just bring it to me on our next meeting. And the day that meeting came, she never came. I called her cell phone. Her friend Janine had picked up the phone, said that Dawn was not there. I got a call later back that night saying that the ring was stolen along with her friend's car.
Where did you get the call from?
Dawn. Dawn called me back later that night.
That the ring was stolen?
Yes.
How was it stolen?
The ring was never stolen, Your Honor. There was no ring. Me and my husband had gotten separated. Me and John did remain friends, and that was around March 16th was the day I had separated from my husband. On May 8th, it was a Wednesday night, me and my friend, we went to the meeting in Lindenhurst where he had another one of his friends with him.
What kind of meeting?
It was the meeting for the financial services. It was one of those meetings. We had went back to his house, and he had to drop his friends off at the mall, so we all met back at his house. He then told me that he was going to hang out with us, and then all of a sudden he was saying that he was tired, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're tired, whatever, go inside. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, but first, before I go inside, I want to show you something. He took
And what date was this?
This was on May 8th.
Go ahead.
He then proceeded to take a box out and hand me a ring. I said, what is this? He's like, I want to marry you. And I said, how can I marry you when I'm not even divorced yet? I was still very upset that me and my husband were separated. And I then threw the ring at him right after I had made a 911 call because he would not get out of my car. And my friend and I both heard the ring fall off of his chest where it had landed and hit the ground.
Because you were wearing it later that night, though. That's the odd part.
And after the fact of that, we eventually talked. I hadn't seen him with the ring the rest of the night. And we went to the karaoke bar backstage, which is located in Woodmere, New York. He then pulled my friend Janine aside, and he had told her everything that happened and how he couldn't find the ring.
Do you have the sales slip for the ring?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? So you say that he gave you this ring on May 8th.
Yes.
He says he gave you the ring on April 1st.
Yes, and we called him...
Just a second.
Okay.
Well, he certainly bought it on April 1st.
May I say one other thing?
Yes.
I have also, we did a financial needs analysis for the company that we do work for, and it is a custom thing to do it. Most engaged or married couples will do it, and we did it. It has both of our names on it, and The date of which this is done and the ring is one of the debts. Her social security number is inside of it, and
Let me
it's
see
needed
it,
through her.
please. Did you fill out this report with him?
Yes, I did. We were going to become business partners.
I asked you whether you filled this out with him.
Yes.
Because it has your information on it.
Yes.
You know what date you filled it out?
I honestly do not.
May 1st. And you say that you threw a ring back at him that he gave you on May 8th.
Yes.
That you hadn't seen the ring before.
Yes.
Baloney! Madam, this lists the debt on the ring. Current debt, ring, $1,000, and the payment on the ring. You want to explain that to me, Miss Roden?
At the time that I filled it out, he only asked me my information. I was sitting in the other room with his mother and his aunt who was over at the time. The rest of the information he filled out by himself. I was not sitting at the table with him when he filled out that information.
So what? You say he gave you the ring on May 8th. He says he gave it to you on April 1st. So what you're suggesting is that he held on to the ring for 5.5 weeks before he gave it to you, right?
Yes.
And then you filled out this application together showing your income, showing your liabilities and everything else, and you knew nothing about the fact that he put in ring monthly bills.
Exactly.
Did you sign this thing? Did you sign it?
On the back of it, yes, I did. I did not.
Get out of here. I don't care whether you lost it, whether you stole it, you're full of baloney. He paid $1,149.55 for the ring. That's what you owe him. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Rawlins, parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Tarrant, Miss Rawlins is or was married to your grandson.
Right.
And according to your complaint, she and your grandson lived with you for a period of time.
Yes.
And then they separated. She left.
Yes.
So far, is that correct?
Majority of it.
What's wrong with what I said?
We did live with her and everything, but my husband asked me to leave.
Well, you separated. That means you
Yes.
did separate.
Yes, and we are still married.
They separated.
Yes.
She left.
Yes.
And then you claim that she came back to get some of her property.
Yes,
When
twice.
she came back to get her property, there was an altercation involving you, as a result of which you broke your wrist in 4 places.
Yes.
And the defendant also took some property of yours.
Yes.
The defendant says you fell, she had nothing to do with breaking your wrist, and she has no property of yours. Is that right?
The only property I have of hers is this bag that she asked for. And I've been asked
Anything
my
in the
husband to come
bag?
get it. I have no idea. I've never opened it.
Oh, can I get the bag?
It wasn't mine. I put it off to the side.
Okay. Let's see what's contained in the bag. And then we'll get to this altercation. Well, one of the things you said she took was camera.
Right.
Is that right? This looks like a camera case. And there's a camera in here.
Yes.
Okay. And a couple of other odds and ends, but I assume that this is the majority of what you're asking for back.
Yes, it looks like.
Okay, good. So let's give this back to the plaintiff, please. So then we're just going to deal with this injury to your arm and this assault. A few questions. What date did your husband ask you to leave?
June 29th.
How long had you been living with the plaintiff?
We moved in there July 5th, 5 days after we were married.
Of the previous year?
Mm-hmm.
So you were there almost a year?
Almost a year.
And who moved in? You, your husband, and you have a child?
Yes.
How old is your child?
She's 5.
But she's not the child of this marriage?
No, she's not.
Now, when your husband asked you to leave, did he ask you to leave on the 29th of June?
Yes, he did.
So you must have had an argument.
I'm not really sure. He was been very stressed lately and said he needed some time and asked me to leave, and so
And you
I
did. When he asked you to leave, did you give him your key?
No, from my understanding, he just needed time. He just needed a little space.
And what did you tell Miss Tarrant when you left?
I did not speak to any of them.
Really? I mean, you
Yeah.
lived with the lady for a year. You didn't have any conversation with her at all?
No, my husband asked me to leave, and I grabbed my daughter and a couple things, and we left. I figured I was coming home that night.
But you didn't come home that night?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I said he needed more time.
Now, when was this incident when you did, in fact, return, and there was an incident involving Miss Tarrant and her wrist?
That was the first time I spoke to her. That was August 2nd.
Tell me about it.
We arrived at the house.
Who's we?
Me, my couple family members, my friends.
How many people arrived in the house?
Oh, in the house there was 9 total, I believe.
That you brought with you?
Yes, to move my things out. I had not spoken to my husband, refusing contact. I figured
He refused contact?
Yes. And I figured my daughter's going to be starting school. I need more of her things, and I also needed more clothes. And so we went to go get my things, and upon arriving, found all of them packed up and shoved into one little room at the house.
How did you get into the house?
With the key.
The key that you had?
Yes.
Didn't it occur to you to call Miss Tarrant first and say, we're coming over to get my things?
Well, my things were there. My husband and I are still married. That is also my husband's home.
Does this home belong to whom?
Both her and my husband.
It's my home, but I put my grandson's name on it for when something happens to me, he'd be able to sell it.
When you met your husband, where was he living?
In an apartment.
In an apartment?
Yes, because he didn't want to live with his grandmother anymore.
Fine. But at some point you moved in with her?
Yes.
So you and your husband moved into her home?
Correct.
So it didn't occur to you, Miss Rawlins, to pick up the phone as a human being and say to her, I'm coming with 9 people to your house to get my property? Is that time okay for you? Is that day okay for you? I haven't been there in over a month. That strike you as something that would have been a nice thing to do?
Well, every time I called the home or whatever, I was usually hung up on. So I did not have that opportunity.
Did you ever speak to her?
No.
Well, your husband works. Is that
correct?
True? Did you
and
ever
that's why we went during the day, because I knew he would be gone and she would be there. She usually never leaves the home.
Good, so that you knew that she would be there. Why didn't you call her first and say, we're coming over to pick up my stuff? Is today a good time for you?
Because it was a good time for me and I was just going to go get my things.
Well, you got a lot of nerve. You got a lot of nerve. The lady takes you into her home with a child that's totally unrelated to her. You stay there for a year. You and your husband have some sort of a falling out, and I don't even want to get into that because I have no idea what it's about. But you're gone for well over a month. You don't come by yourself to pick up a few little things. You come with 9 people invading her house without so much as a telephone call first, and you expect her not to get agitated?
No, I understood why she was agitated.
You did?
But I also felt that, and she said herself that I was there to pick up my things.
But you understood she was agitated because 9 people invaded her house.
Oh, no, when she got there, none of us were in there, except for the minister's wife, who was keeping her dogs under control so they didn't get loose.
Tell me how you broke your wrist.
After I came home and seen everything was in the trucks, I seen some things out in the truck that my grandson told me not to let her take. And so I was walking out toward the trucks. She grabbed a hold of my arm, and I have osteoarthritis, so I'm not really that stable. That's why I can't run. I have to walk slowly. And as she grabbed my arm and turned me around, I fell. And I went down on my right wrist.
You have the medical records?
Yes, I do.
Can I see them, please?
Can I get help? Because she has everything.
Sure.
What's that? There.
Okay, I'd like to hear your version of what happened, how her wrist got broken.
I'm assuming her wrist got broken when she fell.
Yeah.
There was trucks and cars and everything in the driveway and so on. We were moving out. And she came out of the back porch door and started yelling. And then she had noticed a vacuum cleaner that was in the back of my stepfather's truck, which was parked out on the road. And she just said, "You're not taking that vacuum," and started running. And right about the part where the grass and the sidewalk meet, there's holes and everything in that yard, and I'm assuming she fell. I was pushing a lawnmower in the driveway at the time and walked over there to help her. Said, "Grandma, look what you did," and tried to help her up, and that was when she proceeded to throw the phone that she had in her hand at me, and I decided to walk away.
Good, you're responsible for her broken wrist. I don't care whose version of the events is accurate. I don't care whether you held her and twisted her around or she fell when she was running after one of the trucks that you brought with you. You're responsible. You created the situation by not making a prior arrangement with her and invading her home with 9 people who were uninvited to her home to clean.
They knew I was coming.
Who's they?
They all did. They packed up my things. They were waiting for me to come get my things.
On that day?
I didn't even know my things were packed up. They assumed.
Listen, don't be a swift talker. You understand exactly what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is they had packed up your things, put them away in an orderly way. You said in one corner of a room. That's what you told me.
It was all shoved into one room.
That's fine, shoved into one room. It was all packed up. She was expecting a telephone call from you to say, "Grandma, can I come over on the 2nd of August to pick up my things? Is that okay with you?" Sure. You're going to bring people? Yes, I'm going to bring 9 people with me to your house. 9 people to help me move. because I know you're going to be alone that day, because I know he's working. So I'm going to come with 9 people, some of whom you know, some of whom you don't know. We're going to come into your house. I just want you to be alert to that so that you don't get frightened, you don't get scared. You did none of that. You just went when it suited you. It didn't suit you to go on August 1st. It didn't suit you to go on July 29th. It didn't suit you to go on July 28th. It suited you to go on August 2nd. Maybe it didn't suit her for you to go. Maybe she was having a bar mitzvah for somebody in her house on August 2nd. And it wouldn't be convenient for you to be removing stuff with 9 trucks. So you are responsible. Because if she got agitated because you hadn't made arrangements for an orderly transition...
But that was still considered my home.
It is not. No way. No way is it your home. You abandoned your home. You abandoned her home.
I did not abandon the home.
Oh, yes, you did. You abandoned the home. You were gone for 32 days, according to you, and decided that would be a good day for you to come and retrieve your property. And you and your husband moved into her home. He didn't live there when you got married. You said he lived in an apartment. And the 2 of you moved in, maybe because his apartment was unsuitable for you and your child. But you moved into Grandma's house.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
He promised to pay me back. But then he comes over to my place and he goes, Janice, just consider yourself a $5,000 hooker.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carol Tarrant says her granddaughter-in-law, Stacy Rollins, owes for breaking her wrist and stealing her property. Stacy says Carol's injuries are her own fault.
You moved in to her house, and you knew it was her house. So you're responsible for her injuries. Got a lot of nerve. Do you have any medical coverage for these bills?
Medicare paid most of it.
Okay, so you're really suing for pain and suffering.
Well, I have a $9,000 hospital bill that they didn't cover.
Really?
Yes.
Why not?
They paid $2,000 of it.
And they didn't cover $9?
No.
And you still have the house in your name?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's a problem. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I knew that Judge Judy would get the truth.
I guess she just got what she wanted, like she usually does.
I don't know what I could have done. I had the phone in my hand. I guess I should have called the police as I was walking out.
There was no settling outside the courtroom with this family.
It was very frustrating.
She's playing this little innocent act in front of the judge of an elderly lady. And she's not.
I was so upset when I came to her home and she was holding her arm.
I do feel sorry, but she shouldn't have been running through the yard like that.
She was in a lot of pain.
Relation with the son, I'm sure everything's just deteriorated, unfortunately.
I just hope everything can be settled and that they could just leave us alone.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeMars versus Bona, step forward, please.
Food server Janice DeMars is suing her ex-boyfriend, computer technician Rockford Bona, for an unpaid loan to start a business. Rockford says the money wasn't a loan, it was an investment.
Mr. Morris, you and Mr. Bona were in a relationship several years ago, and you claim that you made a loan to him. He was starting up a new business. You want that money back. How much did you loan him?
$5,000, Your Honor.
Mr. Bona says that this was never a loan. This was an investment that you made in his business. I've read your papers very carefully. I want you to tell me when you gave him the money and tell me about the circumstances surrounding you giving him the money.
Okay. I met him in 1998, and July 23rd, 1999, I was over at Rocky's house, and we discussed a loan about him creating some software. So I went home, got the money, and put it in the bank. Jim came with me. So I do have a witness. I have the receipt because he gave me a deposit slip, and that was the circumstances of the loan. And I did want it back. It was never a gift.
He didn't say it was a gift. All right, now you tell me your end, Mr. Bona, and then I'll make a judgment. Go ahead.
All right, Your Honor. First of all, this is really not about money. It's about relationship issues.
Let me hear about the money first.
Okay.
You worry about the relationship. I'll worry about the money.
I was working for a company, and Janice here was with me when I was talking to the marketing guy about how the company was going to try to solicit investors for the software. She got excited about it and wanted to invest in it. I said, great. First of all, it's not my company, and she dealt with them directly, not I.
I did not, Your Honor.
Where did you put the money?
I did not take the money, Your Honor. She put it in the company herself.
Put it in your account.
I put it in his account. He gave me a deposit slip, and I put it in the bank in St. Cloud because he lives in Ham Lake, which is 60 miles away or so.
Well, did the money eventually find its way to your account, sir?
Not to me personally, no.
To whom?
I have a receipt.
Shh. To whom?
To the corporation I was working for.
Okay. Were you a shareholder in this corporation?
No.
Did they go out of business?
Correct.
When did they go out of business?
2000.
I was never notified. He never kept me informed about any business loan. It was not a business loan. It was
Sure it
personal.
was. You want to know why it was, Mr. Morris? And I'm going to tell you why. Because I read your complaint very carefully. This is what you said in your complaint. We discussed from the beginning that I would not get any money back for at least 2 or 3 years because that is how long he expected it would take to make a profit. That's what you wrote. Bert, that is right, isn't it?
But after 2 years, he didn't even try to pay me back.
right.
He never called.
He doesn't. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Whatsoever.
This is what you wrote in your complaint, Mr. Morris. So this was money, whether it was an investment or a loan. It is clear to me that the intention was that you would get your money back when the company made a profit.
That was
Here are your words. I'm going to read them
Never
again, Mr.
discussed
Morris.
that way.
I'm going to read them again. We discussed from the beginning that I would not get my money back for at least 2 years because that is how long he expected it would take to make a profit.
Yeah, if he would call me up, keep me informed, and let me know what's going on. He never did anything like that.
Yeah,
And
it's
it
your
was like-
money. So you've got to be smart enough to call him.
Yeah, I guess.
You've got to be smart enough to call the company. That's your job.
Well,
That's
he
your
did,
job.
He took advantage of me. He
So
really
take
did.
advantage of you. What does that have to do with me? You gave him money. You invested in either him or the company. Clearly, you expected to get money back. You expected
Yes,
to
I
get
did.
your money back
Yes, I
from the
did.
company.
Well,
Because
it
that's
was a
what you said in your
Yeah.
sworn complaint. When the company made a profit, you expected to get your money back. That's what you said.
Well, I expected him to let me know what was going on. There was no papers filed about the company whatsoever.
My
I put it
dear,
in-
there were no papers filed that this was a loan.
And
there were no papers filed that this was a loan.
Then I do have...
Mr. Bona, agreed to repay Mr. Morris $5,000 within 2 years because the money she gave me is a loan.
I have 2 personal receipts that were signed by him, too.
For?
$2,000 and $500 apiece.
That has nothing to do with this. What are you bringing this in for? I'll see those.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me see those.
He promised to pay me back.
Shh, just a second. What is it? Now, this wasn't the $5,000. Is that right, Mr. Morris?
No, this is...
This wasn't the $5,000.
No.
So he promised to pay you these 2 things. I received $2,500 from Mr. Morris and promised to pay her back. I owe Janice DeMars $2,500 for 1 engagement ring set, right? Now,
Yes,
you're not
but
suing for any of this, but when he gives you a loan, he gives you a note.
But then when he agreed to come on the show, he comes over to my place and he goes, Janice, I'm going on the show for a favor for you. Just consider yourself a $5,000 hooker. And that's
Mr.
what you
Morris,
told me. And
Mr.
it's
Morris,
ridiculous.
Mr. Morris, he may not be a nice person, madam.
No, he's not.
Very good. You gave him $5,000 anticipating this company was going to make money. It didn't make money, went out of business. You should have kept better
Where's
track
the
of your
proof?
money. Your case
Where's
is
the
dismissed.
proof?
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, it's totally unfair.
Out of Mergner versus Fickett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Mergner, you were at a party, and it is your claim that the defendant, while acting like a complete imbecile, started to hit golf balls off the hood of your car because somebody had said something to him that offended him. And he caused over $2,000 worth of damage to the roof of your car. Mr. Fickett says he did no such thing, and the only reason that you're suing him is probably because you were in some way infatuated with him, as all women are. And when you found out that he had a girlfriend, you probably got angry or something like that, right?
Something like that, Your Honor, yes.
Did you know him before this
No.
party?
No, I don't.
Who saw him on top of the car?
My witness, Joe Moore.
And I have the witness up here. Tell me your name, sir.
Joe Moore,
Mr. Moore, on what date was this party?
May 20-something. I'm not sure the exact date.
Where was it?
Tucson, Arizona, Grant and Silver Barrel.
At a friend's house.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the name of the friend?
Sean.
Don't look like a deer in headlights, sir. I'm not going to
Sure.
attack you. I'm just asking you some preliminary questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how many people were at this party?
30 at the most. A lot more than 30.
And was, don't speak until I speak to you. Was the defendant one of those people?
Yes, ma'am.
The plaintiff says that you actually observed the defendant doing something in or around or on her car.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you saw.
I saw the defendant standing on top of the car and kind of give a little jump as to indent the roof of the car.
This is ridiculous, Your Honor. He has nothing to go on this.
I don't want you to speak. What word didn't you understand when I said it nicely before?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I saw him do that and then proceed to like drop a golf ball and take the club and just start hitting a couple of golf balls after.
And then what did you do?
I turned around and I walked back in the house. I found my friend Shane, and I said, there's some guy outside jumping up and down on somebody's car, hitting golf balls off the top of the car with your golf clubs. So you might want to call the cops. You might want to come out here and check this out. And then
The police arrive?
No, ma'am. The police never arrived that night.
Who told you that something had happened to your car? Or did anybody?
Not until after the fact. He had already left. He basically wrecked the party. And my boyfriend had just graduated. It was his graduation party from the University of Arizona. So he decides to show up wearing an Arizona State hat. And
I don't care about that. I read that somebody was wearing the wrong kind of, he was wearing
Yes,
the wrong kind of
that's what
hat. Somebody
started
called him a jerk.
This is silly, Your Honor. This is what it's all about.
You're the...
Shh. Listen to me. When did you actually see the damage to your car?
Not until after he left, probably 2 in the morning.
Exactly.
Let me see the estimate for the damage.
This is the estimate.
Mr. Fickett, 2 times I've told you not to speak until I get to your side, which I believe I have assured you that...
I'm just shocked to hear all this. This is so ridiculous. Like, I can't believe she's like actually saying this. She has nothing to go on, no proof.
My mouth is running. When my mouth is running, yours doesn't run.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm going to try to say it as tastefully and with as much judicial temperament as I can muster. Keep your mouth shut until I talk to you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Looks like hail damage, Your Honor.
I assume what I'm looking at in some of these pictures are a footprint.
Yes. His footprints were all over.
Okay, now I'll hear you, Mr. Fickett.
All right, I went to this party. The only reason I went to this party was because my friend Nick, who wrestles at ASU, was visiting. And we went to the party, me and my girlfriend Kim here, went to the party just to hang out with him. We're having a casual discussion outside, me and my friend Nick. And from what she tells me, there were like a group of girls, maybe her friends, maybe someone didn't like her, maybe someone didn't like me. I don't know for what reason. There were a group of girls, like, just whispering and gossiping, like in the corner. She knows more about that than me. I was just hanging out. We were there maybe for an hour, hour and a half. It was graduation night at U of A. There were like 3 parties on the street. I wasn't even drinking. I mean, they were probably drunk as all hell being graduation. The reason I wasn't drinking was because I had a wrestling match the next morning. I fight professionally, and I'm known to be, like, rumored about to be like this big tough guy that causes all this trouble. And it's just a reputation that beholds me that isn't true. And this is just another jealous person or angry person that just wants to blame stuff on me, either because her car's really damaged, I don't know, or maybe she has something against me or my girlfriend.
She doesn't have anything against you.
Well, she has something against me if she wants to make this stuff up and bring me to court for
Mr.
it.
Fickett. Pay careful attention to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't have anything against you. She doesn't have anything against your girlfriend. She didn't see you do any damage to her car. She didn't tell the police she saw you do any damage to her car. She didn't tell me that she saw you do any damage to her car. He saw you do damage to her car. He doesn't want to date you. We don't want to blame the wrong person, do we?
No, ma'am.
You want to blame somebody. Blame Mr. Moore. Maybe he's jealous of you.
Any which way, she's coming up with a false witness to come up
no.
with her case.
No. She goes outside and she finds that her car has been damaged. She says, who damaged my car?
Well, if it was so urgent, why weren't the cops there that night? Why didn't she call the cops that night? Why is my name not in the police report? I mean,
Just a second. They did call the police. But from what you tell me, sir, it was graduation night. The police were probably very, very busy. and not swift to respond to some fool standing on top of a car hitting golf balls off somebody's roof. They had other things to worry about, so they didn't show up.
I
But
arrived
it
at
is
the party.
clear to me that somebody was on the hood of this car. It is clear to me that somebody took a flying leap while they were on this car. And what I would try to figure out, Mr. Fickett, is why Mr. Moore would lie to me about having seen you do that. Did you have any prior relationship with him? Did you have any
I don't know
prior
these
problem
people.
with
I was
him?
at the party because of a friend of a friend.
Okay. So you don't. Just a second. So you don't know him. Is that right? You don't know him at all.
No.
Why in the world would somebody make up a story like that about you?
Because this petty girl's crying about someone damaging her car, and they need someone to blame.
So they blamed you.
I guess. Maybe they
You
don't
want
like
to tell
Arizona
me
State.
something?
It's me.
Step up, young lady.
I
Tell
was
me your
there.
name.
My name's Kim.
Okay, Kim.
And I was there with him the whole night. This is kind of almost funny to us. When you pull into the street, when we first pulled into the street of where the party was going on, we had no idea where it was because, like he said, there was three parties. I mean, it's a big street. We had to park like 2 streets down. There was tons of cars, tons of people walking around all over the place.
Get to the point.
Anybody could have done this. When he stands up here and gives like an oath, like, sorry, but my dad's a minister. I don't know if you're religious, but that's like not cool. You don't stand up here because I was with him the whole night. The whole night. I stayed with him. I sat outside. Excuse me, I'm talking. I sat outside. I was talking to, I've seen a girlfriend of mine that I used to work with. He's talking to Nick. I'm talking to my girlfriend. An hour later, I go, I got a sociology class in the morning. You got a wrestling tournament. We better go. We hopped in the car. We said goodbye to everybody. And we left. The only person that we knew there was Nick and this girl that I had just seen there. And, you know, I mean, there was so many people there and there was so many parties going on at any time that I just can't comprehend how this guy is saying this. I was with him the whole night. I was by his side. I walked in the house at one point to go to the bathroom. And when he says 30 people, 70, if not more, when I walked in.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lovely young lady. Well, I have to make a judgment as to why Mr. Moore here would make up a story about having seen you cause the damage to the plaintiff's car. Now, I can understand why your girlfriend would tell me that you were together all evening, which isn't even true according to her, because she did go inside for a while to go to the bathroom. Probably was inside at least 10 minutes, because it takes that much time to get through 70 people to find out where the bathroom is and to get out. She wasn't with you the entire evening. The estimated damage is some $2,000 on this car. And it's not a new car.
Yeah. It's new to me, though.
I understand that. How much did you pay for it?
Roughly $5,000.
What do you mean, roughly $5,000?
Because my mom gave it to me. And it was originally her car. So
it
has
was
low mileage
originally
on it.
her car, and your mother gave it to you as a
Yes,
gift.
because I'm going to school and I need a car.
Terrific. And this damage that was done to the car doesn't affect its drivability.
No, but I have to look at it every day and be reminded
Of course you
him.
do. And I'm sure that if I award you
Okay.
$2,000, you're going to find a way to have it fixed for that $2,000. So that's what I'm awarding you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He likes to pick fights with people, and that's what he likes to do. And that's why he obviously wasn't invited. We don't associate with people like him.
They don't have anything better to do. They can't sit down and have a conversation like we were doing the whole night. They have to, yeah, dude, where's some pie beer?
Everyone I talk to says he's psycho.
I've had jealous gossip about me before, and I just thought this was one of those cases. We found the golf club later, but it was broken in half at that point, so.
He fights in the Rage in the Cage circuit. That's number one reason why he's so well known, and that's why people think he's so crazy.
University of Arizona is the way to go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mullendorf versus Mayfield. Step forward, please.
21-year-old baker Janelle Mullendorf is suing her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, 21-year-old homemaker Melinda Mayfield, for smashing out her car windows. Melinda is countersuing, claiming Janelle trashed her apartment.
Miss Mullendorf, you and the defendant have a boyfriend in common, and one of you has a child with him. Which one has the child?
I have a child with Christopher.
Where's Christopher?
He is at work.
What kind of work does Christopher do?
He's a furniture salesman and he moves furniture.
Invisible as he should be. In any event, Miss Mullendorf, is your claim that the defendant vandalized your car?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, she was arrested for vandalizing your car.
Yes.
And you went to some sort of a mediation, a criminal mediation?
Yes.
And at the mediation, you promised to do something. What did you promise to do, Miss Mayfield?
I agreed that I would pay Janelle back for the balance owed on her windows that she had to pay. And in the same note, she agreed that she would stay out of my life, out of Christopher's life, and out of our son's life. Leave us alone. And
okay, now I assume that that was reduced to a writing.
yes.
Can I see it, please? Because suffice it to say that the payment for the window was never made, and you have a defense to that. So let me see what you agreed to.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Out!
I was a witness to it.
Did you hear what I said to you? Out!
Did you want me to leave?
Yes. What does out mean?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janelle Mullendore says her ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, Melinda Mayfield, smashed out her car windows and refuses to pay. Melinda says Janelle won't stay out of her life.
Did you do community service?
No.
They call you Mindy?
Yeah, that's my nickname.
Yeah. Why didn't you do community service?
I had spoken to the woman a few times, and she said they had a list that they were going to mail out to me of places to call on community service, and they never did. And
so you just didn't do that, and you didn't pay her the $520 that you agreed to pay her.
Nope. I have pictures.
Just a second. Don't need any pictures. She said she went through a mediation. Instead of getting arrested, having a record, she agreed to pay for the windows and apologized for breaking them. That's what it says here. So she didn't do community service, and she didn't pay the $520. You didn't have to show me anything. When did you break the windows? And don't tell me I didn't break the windows.
Well, I did not break the windows.
Okay, you did break the windows. When did you break the windows?
She broke them on the November 20th of '01.
Tell me the circumstances for breaking the windows.
She came over to Christopher's apartment, which I was there. We were not allowing her into the apartment because she was very angry. And she banged on the door and she said if I didn't come out, she was going to break all my windows out in my car. And I was like, Christopher, you need to go out there and talk to her. This is your business. Well, she went and got the tire iron out of her car, and she broke out my front windshield, my side windshield, and my back windshield.
And you saw her do that?
Yes.
Okay.
I was not there. I was at my brother's house with
I don't
him.
believe him. I don't believe you. Now, let's go. It doesn't make any difference. You agreed to pay for the windows.
So she would
you
stay
didn't
away from
pay
me
for the
and my
windows.
son
You
and
didn't
my
pay for the
boyfriends.
windows. Now you give me the defense.
The reason I did not pay, because in this agreement, she strictly said she was not going to come around me, my child, or my boyfriend. She said she was going to stay out of her life. She asked for some property that was in the apartment, which I did not know whether or not any of it was hers. I asked Christopher. He said yes, that some of it was, not all of it. We agreed to make a time with her to come give her the things. On Saturday...
So now Christopher's gone back to you?
Yes.
So from being with her, he decided to go back to you?
We've been together since the baby was born.
Was the baby born in November?
January 1st, 2000.
Oh, okay. So while you were pregnant, he was with her.
Right.
And then after the baby was born, he came back to you.
Right.
The prize, who's selling furniture someplace. Okay. So now he's back living with you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So March 23rd, 3 days after our mediation, me and my brother went to my apartment to pick up laundry. Shanda met us over there. Whenever I got there, my door was unlocked. I went inside. My entire apartment was ransacked and trashed. Pictures of me and Christopher holding our son for the first time were demolished, smashed, ripped, torn. And when I spoke to the lady about the mediation, she said that...
what does that have to do with you paying the $520?
The things missing were the things she asked for in the agreement. She obviously didn't stay away. She broke in. She refuses to get out of his life. She lives with his brother. She calls, harasses. She comes by, drives by our house repeatedly.
You choose to have a baby with a loser. That's your problem. You get involved with and that makes you a loser. Hopefully, you'll grow up so that your child won't be a loser.
My child's
but
not a
right
loser.
now, oh yeah, raised by two losers. Unless you wisen up, somebody who lives with one woman while he's impregnated another woman.
She didn't live with him.
Just a minute. Hangs around with her while he's got a pregnant lady who's due to deliver in about 3 months, and then said, well, now I'm going to go live with her, and doesn't have the moral fortitude to come to court with either one of them because he had to work selling his furniture, or was he running IBM? I'm not sure which one you told me, right? That person is a loser. Now, you made an agreement which would keep you from having a record, and that was that you were going to pay for her windows. That's what you do. And if you believe that she was responsible for burglarizing your apartment and for vandalizing your apartment, you call and you make a police report. And if they find her prints there, then they will arrest her. But you don't take it upon yourself to say, listen, I think she's the one who broke into my apartment.
I know she is. She took everything that she wanted.
Pay attention.
She has no proof she busted out the windows either.
Get out. Get out. This is not a dance party.
I'm sorry.
Get out. Out.
I was a witness to it.
Did you hear what I said to you? Out.
Did you want me to leave?
Yes. What does out mean?
I'm sorry about that.
Just out. Out is out. Bottom line, you make an agreement with the criminal justice system. You abide by that decision. And if you feel as if she's breached the decision, you don't resort to self-help and say, I don't have to keep my end of the bargain.
This is what the mediators told me. They said,
listen to me.
Okay, I'm listening.
Tell me what the mediators told you. These are the same mediators who didn't send you a list of places to go to do your community service. Everybody's screwing up except you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $520. That's
Hello, I have a claim.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Maya versus Burt. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Weaver, this case is a little complicated, so let me see if I can untangle it. You had a 1989 van that you decided to sell, and I assume you put a sign out in the van?
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant, who you didn't know, saw the sign and decided to buy the van. He gave you a deposit. There is some discrepancy as to the amount of the deposit, but he gave you a deposit. He was supposed to come back and pay the rest.
Right.
According to you, he did not come back on the day he was supposed to come back, so the next day you sold the van to somebody else.
Yes.
When he did come back for the van, you told him, I'm sorry, you didn't come back when you were supposed to, so I sold it to somebody else. The defendant said, okay, give me my deposit back.
Right.
You said it was a non-refundable deposit. Then there were several things that happened. He says you told him you'd give him some money when you got a check, and he came back a couple of times to try to get the money. In any event, you claim that he had you falsely arrested for terrorizing him,
Yes.
and you want to be compensated for that false arrest.
Yes.
Mr. Burt is counterclaiming. He wants his deposit back, and he wants damage to his car because he said when he tried to pursue you for the return of his deposit, you did in fact threaten him, and you threw a brick at his car, damaging his car, and he's counterclaiming. So, Mr. Weaver, tell me when Mr. Burt approached you. He came to your house?
Yes.
What date?
It was July 17th when he came to my house. I heard a doorbell ring, went to the door. Excuse me.
I ask questions. You read July 17th is your answer.
Yes.
How much were you asking for the van?
I wanted $1,000 for it.
Did you write up an agreement with him?
Yes, we did.
Do you have a copy of the agreement?
No, I gave it to him because it was like a receipt.
Can I see the receipt, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I want the original receipt.
Well, ma'am, what happened to the original, my wife had washed my pants and it got destroyed, and I had to make a copy of it.
You say the price was $2,000, Mr. Burt.
Actually,
I want you to make very, very certain, Mr. Burt, that we understand each other absolutely 100% right. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
How much of a deposit did you give him?
I gave him a $1,200 deposit, ma'am.
Show me proof that you had $1,200 with you and where you got the money from. Because
Okay.
he says you gave him a $100 deposit. There's a big difference. He says you're selling the car for $1,000. You say $2,000. You say you gave him a $1,200 deposit. He says you gave him.
No, actually, I asked him for a $100 deposit. He brought back $200.
Show me where you took $1,200 from, Mr. Burt.
Yeah, I'm a carpet cleaning business owner.
You a what?
Carpet cleaning business owner. I own a carpet cleaning business called Priority One. What happened was, me and my wife went home. I got the $1,200.
From where?
From my house. What happened, I didn't have it in the bank because I had a discrepancy with bank, and I had to withdraw all my money out of the bank. And that basically came through a settlement that I had received.
Bert, you think that you can get me the Blue Book value of a 1989 Astro van with 200,000 miles?
Sure.
Good. Thank you. Now, sir, he gave you, according to you, $200. And he was supposed to come back when?
On July 27th. He never called, never showed up.
On the 27th?
On the 27th, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what happened on the 28th? Who'd you sell it to?
On the 28th, I waited all day for him to call, left a note on my door even, which he had stated to me after he came 2 weeks later, after the 28th, that he had saw the note and never called me anyway, because he said his wife was in a hospital. Sorry.
When did you sell the car, the 28th?
The night of the 28th. What I did
to
was...
whom?
His name was Guy.
And you have all of his information, is
Yes,
that right?
I have the canceled check and the
And what's
receipt.
the canceled check? You can step up. Bert isn't here. Step up.
I'm sorry. This is the receipt we wrote up the day of 28th.
Good.
That's
Step
canceled
back.
check. Thank you.
All right, so this is my question. So 2 weeks later, Mr. Burt comes back and says, where's my car? And you said, I don't have the car, and he wants his deposit back.
Right.
Clearly, based upon the evidence that you've just given me, sir, you sold the car for more money to this other person
Yes.
than you did to
The reason
Mr.
why...
than you did to Mr. Burt. So you were not out any money. Why didn't you give him back his $200?
Because when he had first come to my house, I said I needed the money for my mortgage because I was out of work because of my knee, and I needed the money by the 27th. I said it was a non-refundable deposit if you did not show up.
Come on. It's not in your contract.
I know I should have written it, but it was
It's not there. And if you write up a contract and it's not there, I mean, not that I'm saying this might not have been altered to alter the money, because I think that that's a possibility. Because clearly I believe that you sold the van for $1,100. So why would you sell it to him for $2,000 and then sell it to somebody else for half that? You have a price there for me?
Trade-in fair is $900, Judge.
Okay. Fine. So no way, Mr. Burt, do I believe that you paid $2,000 for this van.
No, Your
Do you
Honor, I didn't.
Do you understand that you agreed to pay $2,000 for this van?
Yes,
No way. Okay, because you're a businessman. And a businessman doesn't pay twice as much for something that it's worth and it's listed in that book for. So this, sir, that you handed to me, you altered.
No.
Oh, yes, you did. Yeah, you did. $2,000. Deposit $1,200. That's what you wrote here. So somebody wrote in a 1 in front of the 2 and changed the 1 to a 2. Somebody did that. Maybe it was the used car ferry or something. I don't know. Somebody did it, if not you. So don't try to pull one over on me, Mr. Burt. He should have given you your deposit back. But don't try to make money off this thing. We understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He says, get off my property, harass me, or I'm going to blow your head off. Call me a
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rick Weaver says he was arrested when Stephen Burt filed a false report with the police. Stephen says Rick threatened him and then threw a brick at his car.
Now, he came to your house a couple of times for the money. Is that right?
Yes. The first time he came, I had told him it was non-refundable, and he left. He said he's going to sue me. I said, fine, do what you got to do. He came back again, and in good faith, I said, listen. I said, in good faith, we had a verbal agreement about the deposit. Said it was non-refundable. It was verbal. I said, in good faith, I'll give you half of it back when I get my disability check. He agreed to that. He said that was fine, and I told him to come back, you know, in about a month I'd have it. So he showed up 2 weeks later, and that's when all this other stuff occurred.
Well, tell me about all the other stuff, sir.
Me and my fiance were pulling up in my driveway. He pulled up behind us. We were walking up to my door, and he said, I need to get all your information. I said, what do you mean information? He said, for information to sue you. I said, you have my information. You have my, you know where I live. You know my name. I said, you have all my information. There's nothing. I said, you get off my property, or I'm calling the cops because you're harassing me about this $100. And he left.
Why? It's not 100. It's 200.
Yeah, I know, but we had agreed on 100.
You didn't give him the 100.
No, because I didn't have my disability check yet.
You got the money from the car,
Right.
sir.
I paid my mortgage. at the
That's
time.
not his problem.
I know.
And I believe that you threatened him, because that's what he's going to tell me. Is that right, Mr. Byrd?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, I've already caught you in one lie, so let's not do it again. I want you to tell me exactly what happened the second time you went to his house and said to him, give me your information. Do you understand, Mr. Byrd? I don't want you to fabricate anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
I went to Mr. Weaver's house. I seen him and his girlfriend pull in the driveway. I pulled behind him. Mr. Weaver came over to me. He says, I told you when I get my disability, I was going to give you the $100. I said, well, we need to let a judge decide what to do in this case because I shouldn't keep coming to you for a deposit that
You're
you owe me.
absolutely right.
I said, and the reason I'm here is just to get your complete address and a telephone number so they can contact you.
Okay.
He stormed away from me. He went in the house. He came out, slammed open the screen door. He was pointing an object at me. I couldn't see what it was, but he says, get off my property, harassing me, or I'm going to blow your effing head off. He caught me in. I got in my car. He came off the step. He threw a brick, and he did damage to my car, doing over $800, Your Honor. And I have pictures of the damage.
Well, let
and
me
I
see.
also have a...
and I want to see the police report.
I
And
don't
this
have
was
the
on
police
Sep-
report with me.
Why
I just
not?
have... The only thing that I received was a complaint from Mr. Weaver. They never
Did
gave
you-
me a police report where I filed on him.
When did you file?
I filed the same day
Where?
at Clementon Police Department.
So you left his house and went right to the police department?
Yes, ma'am, after he threw the brick.
Okay, when were you arrested, sir?
The next day, me and my fiance and her 12-year-old daughter were pulling up my driveway. Chief pulled in. I've known for years. He said, Rick, I have to arrest you. Someone said you threatened him with a gun.
Mhm.
I said, you know me better than that. I said, I hate guns. I don't even let my kids play with plastic guns.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Shh, quiet.
And he said, well, I have to do my job. It's coming from Camden Superior Court, and I have to do my job. So they arrested me. Took me down, fingerprinted me. I got arrested in front of my 12-year-old future stepdaughter, which was very embarrassing and degrading. They took me down in front of all my friends who were police officers. I'm friends with everybody in the town. Arrested me, fingerprinted me, photoed me. I had to go in a van, ride around in a van, a county van. They put me in a holding cell for 22 hours with 18 guys. The one was the guy that was laying next to me on the floor was defecating in.
I don't care. Don't go. Listen to me. Your goal could have been avoided if you gave him his $200. Right? All could have been avoided if you gave him his $200. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you throw a brick at his car?
No, ma'am.
No, I don't believe you did.
No, ma'am.
I don't believe you did, but I do believe you threatened him.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, that I believe. I believe that you told him to get off or you're going to blow whatever. That I believe you did. You see what happens when you lie once, Mr. Burt? When you lie once, like this, and you hand this kind of stuff to me, then I find suspect other things that you say when it's not consistent. What is consistent is that he got annoyed with you coming around, that when you came back and you were very polite, you said to him, I need all your information. I need your full address. You had his address. All you had to do was look up at the number on the house and you see his address. You wanted a phone number. Do you need a phone number? I'm not sure you do, but you wanted his phone number. I can understand him not wanting to give you the phone number because maybe he was afraid that you'd keep calling to harass him. But I do believe he threatened you. Don't believe this, don't believe this. So I believe you have the right to go and say he threatened me. If they followed through with that, I assume you told them the whole story, then you have no case. Now, you have a counterclaim for the return of your deposit and the damage to your car. He's suing you for $3,000 for intentional infliction of emotional distress for the time he spent in jail and being arrested, all of which came about because he didn't do the right thing. He, in effect, stole your money. Understand that? You stole his money. He gave you $200. You refused to give it back. He was very patient. You were treating him like a fool. And that's what happened to you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rick Weaver says he was arrested when Stephen Burt filed a false report with the police. Stephen says Rick threatened him and then threw a brick at his car.
You shouldn't have been a pig, which you were. You said, not only am I going to get $1,100 from this guy, I'm going to get another $200. It's $1,300 for the van. And the van is, according to you, got 200,000 miles, all banged up, not worth much, 13 years old, right?
Right.
So here I got top dollar for this van. So you spent 2 days in jail because you were a pig. As far as you're concerned, sir, you're suing him for $2,085.12, damage to your car, which I don't believe, and return of the van deposit, which you say is $800, which I also don't believe. $200. So you get $200, you get $200, you both get nothing. Goodbye.
Excuse, you may step out.
I think he should have handled it more like a man.
He pleaded his case. I had to pay $7,500 cash bail, and I spent 2 days in
And the
jail.
prosecutor in Camden ended up throwing it out anyway
Yeah,
because
they
it was
threw all the
based on a
cases
lie.
thrown out because he lied on them.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Barker versus Laughlin. Step forward, please.
25-year-old occupational therapist Carla Barker is suing her ex-fiancé, heavy equipment operator Donald Laughlin, for the return of a waterbed mattress and 2 jackets.
Miss Barker, you and the defendant have been engaged for a period of time well over a year ago.
Correct.
According to your complaint, you broke up in September of 2001. You moved out. The defendant owes you for some furniture and 2 jackets.
That is correct.
Fine. Those are the 2 jackets.
Yes,
Bird,
ma'am.
would you transfer the 2 jackets to her? He says you can take back the 2 jackets and I don't owe you a dime. Is that right, sir?
Exactly.
Great. So, Miss Barker, you can tell me now. Now you have your 2 jackets back.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you lived in the same residence, sir, in the same city for the last year and a half?
Yes, ma'am. I've lived there for 6 years.
Worked at the same job?
Yes, ma'am.
So are you Rip Van Winkle? Where have you been for the last year and a half if you claim he owes you money?
I haven't been not dealing with this. For the last 6 months, I have been trying to work with Donald through an attorney that I had acquired to resolve these matters.
When you moved out in September of 2001, what property did you take with you?
I took a love seat, a papasan chair I had. I took another queen-size bed that I had possession of. I had 2 dressers. I had a cedar chest.
Now, what is it that you claim that he has that belongs to you?
He has a mattress, a replacement waterbed mattress. What it is an actual mattress.
A replacement waterbed mattress?
Yes.
What does that mean?
The waterbed had a bag in it that you filled with water. However, I was having difficulty sleeping on that. It was hurting my back. So I purchased basically a regular mattress that had pads on both sides. And it was a regular mattress that fits into the frame of the waterbed.
What else do you want?
There was a computer desk that was purchased. That I had purchased.
So why didn't you take it with you?
Well, at the time, it was too big and it was put together. It would have had to have been dismantled to be taken apart and for me to take. That would have required time, which he was not willing to give me.
So now you decided you wanted it?
Well, yes, when I was...
Well, I'm sorry you don't get it.
But, ma'am, I believe that he is in possession of it. I purchased it.
I don't care whether
and if
you
it is in his possession, that he owes me the money for that.
No, he doesn't.
Can I ask why?
Yeah, you can. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
There are no courts for people who live together. Clearly, when you separated, he had no problem with you taking a whole bunch of stuff out of the apartment. Because I read your complaint. I read your complaint and I read his answer. He had no trouble. You left, and you said, "You take this stuff. You want to take this stuff. You take it. The rest of the stuff, you leave here." You couldn't take this big bandura with you. You had no place to put it, so you said, "The hell with it. I'll leave it there." As far as the bed is concerned, you had him get rid of his waterbed because you had a pain in your back. He got rid of his waterbed. You put another mattress there. Now you want the mattress back?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Because
you
he is
can't
still
have
in
it.
possession
You
of the
can't-
bag that went
you
in it in the first place.
can't have it back. Because if
Then
you
I
wanted
believe-
any of these things back, a week after you moved out, if you had gone to him and said, "Now I want these things because I believe they're mine," then you litigate it.
Ma'am,
You
we
don't
have
come
been
into
dealing
court a
with
year and a
this
half
for-
later and say, "Well, now I have a house that's big enough."
Ma'am, I
When should
haven't
it be?
moved either. My place of residence is still the same.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because it's not the fact that I can fit it, it's the fact that I want him, and I believe that he...
कितना दूर है कितना दूर है जोड़ जुड़ी वास्ते बड़ा आगे ना पा
चलो टेंशन ना ले पैसे ना दे तो मैं हैगा मैंने को आपके पल्ले न करने पैना बस चीज हो गई बस ये तो माल है ना लाख रुपया पूरा खवाता इन्होंने 5-6 महीने च
ਲੱਖ ਰੁਪਇਆ
खवाता इन्होंने
ਨਾ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਨਾ
10 मन दाने खा गए
ਉਹ
डॉक्टर बात कही थी हाँ भाई
बिल्कुल
1700 का टिका